new, never-before-seen manga is available now for free on my new website, mangaletter.com. This includes unreleased Ultra Vegito episodes, VE episodes, GR episodes, and an unbelievable amount more. Simply click the link in the description or pinned comment, enter your name and email using an active email, and boom, more manga will be in your inbox. Make sure to check your spam, junk, or other folder if you don't see it, and remember, this will never be released outside of Manga Letter. So sign up now, no excuses, it's free. There's over 132,000 members and counting. Enjoy. So our story continues from the familiar plains of Beerus' planet, and standing in front of the god of destruction and his angel Whis is Son Goku, now draped in his own destroyer clothing as he repeats to Whis, "It's time, Whis, time to take me back to Earth." To which Whis, with a smile looking back, responds, "Of course, Goku-san." But curiously, Beerus remains less convinced on whether Goku has made enough progress, as he comments, "Really, Saiyan? So you really think you're ready? This Cell guy is no joke. I had a little peek at him while you were taking so long getting changed, and it seems he's gotten quite a bit stronger. You may need another 14 years yet." Whis, meanwhile, just quietly flies over to Goku before bending down to the Saiyan's eye level and agreeing, "Yes, Goku-san, I'm afraid Lord Beerus has a point. Without seeing him fight firsthand, it's difficult to even gauge how strong he may be. But he is definitely not the same creature he was 7 days ago. Are you sure you don't want to train anymore, Goku-san? Now that you have officially agreed to become the next god of destruction, the Pyramid of Power will always be available to you." But Goku, now looking seriously at the angel, responds, "From what you saw, Whis, should I be worried? Should I get back in that pyramid? Just tell me the truth." And Whis, with a sense of caution, just responds, "Well, you may be in for a surprise when you see him. Visually, at least. That's all I can say. The final decision is ultimately up to you, Goku-san." Goku, for a moment after hearing this, just remains silent, brooding on his own thoughts until a streak of rage seemingly gets to him and he tightens his fist so hard a vein begins to pop. But eventually, he raises his arm and stares into his palm and lets out, "No, I'm ready. I've already had a huge advantage over Cell by training for 14 years while he's only had 7 days. Who's to say how much stronger he could get if I gave him any longer? The odds are already in my favor, and Vegeta would probably never let me hear the end of it if I needed any more time. So if I'm not ready now, then I'll never be. The time is now, Whis." And with a change of look, now smirking at the older god of destruction, Goku says, "And don't worry, Beerus. When I'm done, I'll be back for our little rematch. You can count on it." To which Beerus, then with a similar smile, then responds, "Spoken like a true cocky Saiyan, and a future god of destruction too. Good luck, and don't disappoint me. I'll be waiting for you on the other side." And with that, Goku waves his final goodbyes, yelling, "See you later, Lord Beerus," and him and the angel attendant Whis then vanish, leaving Beerus all alone. And eventually, Whis and Goku appear once more, presumably now back on Earth and within a mountainous area. Whis, now having done everything Lord Beerus and Goku had requested, then looks back at Goku with a smile and asks him an important question. "So, it's finally time, Goku-san. My, how time flies. I guess this feeling must be similar to letting a child leave the family home. I'd say this cell is about 4 miles to the east, and I'm sure with the Trail of Destruction, he won't be hard to find. Now, is there anything you need from me before you begin your battle? Perhaps you'd like to fight in your original clothing. After all, you aren't a god of destruction just yet. But despite hearing this offer, Goku just smiles back and lifts his fist towards Whis, saying, "Haha, thanks for the offer, but no. I used to wear that gi as it was a gift from my first teacher, Master Roshi. But right now, he's gone, and his killer is still on this planet. I couldn't wear that gi with any kind of pride if I didn't avenge him first before returning to it." And with that poignantly said, Goku and Whis tap fists, with Goku's final words being, "Besides, these last few years, you and Beerus have been my masters, so it's only right I take after you guys now. Take care, Whis. I'll see you soon." And Whis, now trusting in his student, smiles replying, "Good luck, Goku-san. We'll be waiting," and then vanishes from Earth a second later. And now with Goku alone on Earth with Cell, he turns to the direction Whis had told him of, now serious as he thinks to himself, "Cell, I'm coming. I'm finally going to make you pay!" And just like that, with more speed and urgency than he had ever shown before, Son Goku shoots off in search of Ultra Cell. And meanwhile, in the middle of a destroyed and ravaged city, Dr. Gero is seen, of course having been left to survive in this timeline by Ultra Vegito, and standing in front of him is none other than Cell. Dr. Gero, with his cold, lifeless face, looks to his creation and says to him, "Cell, just how many more of these humans will you need to consume? You are already the strongest in this universe by a gigantic margin. We must find Son Goku. That is your purpose, and that is why I built you. Do not forget that." But as Gero berates his greatest invention, nearby, a pair of somewhat familiar feet land on the ground near them. Who goes there? I was sure we eliminated all the Earthlings in this pathetic city. Goku's arrival, of course, immediately being noticed by Gero, but from a distance, he only appears as a blurry, dark silhouette until... What? It can't be! It's... Son Goku! And standing there confidently, of course, is God of Destruction Goku, staring deeply into the eyes of Gero and the back of the creature known as Cell. Before Goku, who at this point is unfamiliar with exactly who the old man is, then comments, "So, you know who I am. I'm guessing you're the Dr. Gero Yamcha told me about? Funny, I don't remember you at all, but from what I hear, you created all these monsters just to get revenge on me for what I did to the Red Ribbon Army. How stupid. All this, all the pain and misery you've caused just to get back at what was only a kid. You're just as bad as your creation, a spineless monster." But Gero, hearing this, is nothing short of triggered by the belittling of his motivations, responding, "How dare you? What would you know of monsters? You destroyed everything I built, my whole army, all my years of research, millions in Zenny, all up in flames, done in by a primitive tailed ape who shouldn't even be on this planet. I waited decades for my revenge and even lost my humanity in the process. But now, my revenge has finally come with my Cell!" And as if just on cue and on command of Gero, a robotic foot begins to move, followed by the green creature turning its head slowly and eventually revealing shockingly perfect Cell. As inexplicably, the combined being then lets out with a self-assured smile. Pleasure to finally meet you, Son Goku. I've been waiting for this moment since the day I was born. I guess you could say I'm a fan of yours. That Cell! Which immediately leaves the uninformed Goku completely shell-shocked. Given from Whis' staff, he'd only ever briefly seen the imperfect form of Cell, leading him to wonder, he looks so different. What the hell happened? This isn't what Whis showed me. His power is so much stronger than before. And as we get a closer look, the difference is completely clear. No longer is Cell the scrawny, nightmarish looking figure he was before absorbing 17 and 18. He now stands tall, arms folded in the same exact form we remember from Dragon Ball Z all those years ago. But with the fact Ultra Vegito destroyed both 17 and 18, just how did this Cell attain perfection? Cell, who visibly can see Goku's confusion and almost takes pleasure in seeing it, sports a cocky grin as he comments, "Surprise, Son Goku? I suppose if you running away all this time to God knows where, the last time you ever saw me was probably on the news. I guess I haven't made an appearance on TV in a while. Not since, you know, I absorbed everyone in this damn city." What? You monster! Instantly getting Goku's back up as he thinks on the horrors the innocent people of Earth faced while he was gone. Continuing, "So that explains it. You change your looks based on how many humans you absorb. You're disgusting." But Cell just finds Goku's outburst humorous, laughing as he then explains, "Haha, you're just as dumb as the data records implied. No, Son Goku, this is my perfect form, gained from absorbing 2 lesser model androids, not the pitifully weak creatures who roam this godforsaken dump. For whatever reason, the 2 androids I was born to absorb had already been destroyed. Maybe by Vegeta, or Trunks, who knows? But luckily, whoever it was, they left my creator Dr. Gero intact. And like the doting father he is, he immediately went to work replicating 2 near identical androids just for me. Took a little while, but eventually I had 2 meals necessary to become the god you see before you." And the hearing of his Cell talk so highly of him immediately brings a smile across the scientist's face as he grins widely and adds, "Yes, my greatest creation, Cell, is finally perfect due to my efforts. The first 2 models were not configured properly anyway. They rebelled almost immediately. Letting Cell absorb those 2 would have only polluted him and left him with the same behavioral problems. But the new androids had no such issues, and for that reason, Cell is now truly perfect." And with his arm now raised and finger pointed firmly at Goku, Dr. Gero aims to prove Cell's obedience as he yells out, "Now go, Cell! The time has come to avenge everything we have lost! Kill Son Goku!" To which Cell appears with a smile, humbly agreeing, "As you wish, Father." "Oh no you don't! You're mine!" Huh? What? Who's that? Yamcha? leaving all three in a state of confusion over who this mystery voice yelling over to them was, and why they're so damn confident. What kind of all-powerful individual or god could be interrupting them? But standing there anticlimactically is actually in fact a worse-for-wear Mr. Satan, aka Hercule, in his tournament champion outfit, yelling furiously, "Yeah, you there! You're the monster who's terrorizing my city, aren't you? Well, it's about time you met my fists!" Leaving somewhat comedically Goku, Cell and Dr. Gero watching on awkwardly in silence, completely underwhelmed by the random Earthling intruding on their battle. Nonetheless though, the oblivious Mr. Satan immediately launches a fruitless attack, iconically screaming, "Dynamite Punch!" But Dr. Gero, seeing this waste of time approach them, immediately is angered and grumbles back, "Filthy human, how dare you overestimate yourself in front of us immortals? Get out of our way!" What the? And immediately, with very little ease of course, Dr. Gero vanishes and reappears in front of a completely unsuspecting Hercule before... Dr. Gero mercilessly stabs Hercule through his stomach, sending blood to gush out of his mouth, an open wound tragically. And with his life force now truly fading from this clearly fatal attack, the old father can only mutter in his final words, "Oh no, this must be one of those damn magic tricks. Videl, I'm sorry." With that, a near lifeless body of Mr. Satan drops onto the shoulder of Dr. Gero, who is less than impressed, commenting, "Disgusting! Get the hell off me, you ape!" Leading to Dr. Gero to instantly remove his now bloody stained hand from Hercule's body, causing Mr. Satan to first land hard on his knees, and then finally onto the floor, face first, now well and truly dead. Earth's champion and greatest martial artist, at least in the eyes of the media, was now dead and gone. No! This brutal action shocks Goku, seeing yet another Earthling from the planet he swore to protect die so brutally to these heartless creatures. As he continues, Why would you do that? It wasn't a threat at all! You'll pay! And as Goku's Saiyan rage builds, the atmosphere and air itself surrounding begins to thicken, and the ground beneath shakes until... Goku? Where did that Saiyan go? Goku immediately vanishes from near Cell, leaving the android nothing short of confused. What are you? But soon in a twist, Goku instead appears right in front of a surprised Dr. Gero, grabbing his bloody hand and staring into the very soul of the android with a stern look. Before, without a word more, Goku raises his palm straight to the face of Gero as he yells, "What is this? What are you doing? Wait! Kai!" But in an equally merciless fashion, reminiscent of Ultra Vegito, God of Destruction Goku yells out the iconic words of destruction. And just as expected, finally doing what Ultra Vegito should have done already, the evil Dr. Gero is erased from the face of the earth for eternity, slowly dissipating into dust that escapes into the air. What? Father, what did you do to him, Son Goku? Leaving this version of Cell positively dejected as for the first time he feels the same sense of sorrow, sadness, and anger that had plagued Goku, witnessing the erasure of his beloved father and creator right before his eyes. Son Goku! I'll have your head for that! Instantly causing the forlorn android to explode in rage, in a crazy and ironic callback to Son Gohan of the original timeline, as Cell becomes coated in a roaring yellow aura surrounded in vicious blue lightning. It's almost as if with Vegeta, Trunks and Gohan absorbed, this Cell has gone far beyond even a Super Saiyan 2. Goku! With a look of pure rage, Cell looks on at Goku with gritted teeth before continuing, "You have no idea what you have done. That man was my key to attaining an even greater level of power. Who knows what upgrades he could have made me if it wasn't for you. You'll die a painful death for this, Goku. Understand that." But as Goku stands across from the fully powered up Cell, he just remains unusually silent, wondering internally the level of his opponent that he must now face, and whether he matches up. He thinks inside, "Damn it, Beerus was right. Cell has gotten way stronger, maybe even stronger than what we prepared for. I can sense everyone's energy inside him. Vegeta's, Piccolo's, Gohan's." Instantly in response, Goku begins powering up himself, blasting forward a golden aura that rivals even Cell's as veins bulge all over. Grumbling as he does so, "Looks like I'm going to have to go to level 2 for him straight out the gate." As in a final roar, God of Destruction Goku reveals his own Super Saiyan 2 form, also now surrounded in blue electricity, in a callback to how his teen son would have looked like back in Z. And as the two powerhouses face each other, Cell comments, "Haha, so this is the Son Goku I heard so much about. I'm pleased. At least you attained this level of power. Now I can have some fun while I crush you to dust." To which Goku says back, "I have to pay my compliments too. Even if taking the energy of all my friends, it's absolutely insane to see the kind of power you're generating. You have no idea what I had to go through to get this kind of energy, but you'll probably get a hint of that in a second." Cell! Goku! As immediately, without warning and in tandem synchronization, both God of Destruction Goku and Ultra Cell rush in at each other with such hatred, anger, and fury in both their hearts. Spit flies out of both their mouths as they race to end each other's lives. And in a testament to not only how equal their emotions are, but also their power, their first punches trade on each other, sending both of them flying in opposite directions as blood splatters from their agape mouths. But as they regain themselves, a curious smile is seen on Goku's face, as if his Saiyan instincts and love for battle can't help but give him a sense of enjoyment even in this bleak scenario, as he comments, "Haha, that actually hurts. Not quite as hard as when Beerus hits me, but not bad at all, Cell. I'm kind of excited to see just how strong you really are. You don't need to hold back, you know." And Cell, who reciprocates the Saiyan smirk, perhaps channeling his inner Vegeta, says back, "Beerus, is that supposed to be someone I know? Or are you getting delirious already? You do look older after all, like you've aged recently. But regardless, if experiencing my power is what you desire, I can do just that. And with that said, Cell quietly then gets into an unfamiliar fighting stance. Huh? What's he doing? And with ridiculous speed, Cell launches a punch at Goku that lands with force on the unsuspecting Saiyan, with Cell gloating, "Satisfied yet? Now who hits harder? Me or this Beerus?" And as Goku's head swings back from the impact, he still has time to quip back. Still Beerus. And just like that, the two begin engaging in a ferocious back and forth battle, trading blows equally until... Damn it! In a brief instant, Cell momentarily feels a glimpse of rust as he never before had to push his new perfect body to this kind of level. And instantly, like a fox pouncing on his prey, Goku takes advantage of the brief opening, rushing in front of Cell as the android remains completely taken by shock. Take that, Cell! Now that's a taste of how hard Beerus really hits! Instantly landing a punch right in the gut of perfect Cell, as if almost challenging what his son was supposed to do through himself, leaving Cell gasping for air as he spits out saliva. But just like that, not to be outdone, Cell replies with his own brutal attack, kicking Goku straight up and through the stomach as well, with a full, extended leg, still keeping up the banter, replying, "Well, I hope this reminded you of this Beerus too." This attack, though, seemingly may have in fact been as hard as Beerus's, because Goku, following this, is seen in a world of pain even greater than what Cell was in. As immediately, Cell combos his attack, following up with a backhanded swipe, sending the damaged Goku flying into a nearby building for a crash landing, falling to the ground as rocks from the building itself fall onto him, leaving Goku to be buried presumably unconscious under the rubble. Meanwhile, some distance away, a pleased Cell lands with a thud, and with a cocky smirk, peers at the god of destruction and gloats, "Haha, like I said, this is far more entertaining than I had expected. You're nothing like what the data suggests. I'm glad. I couldn't bear to fight another weakling. You should have seen the last Saiyan I annihilated. What was his name again? Gohan? What a pitiful excuse for a challenger. All he could do was beg for his life in his final moments, constantly whining, 'Dad, Dad!' How pathetic. If only his dad did come to save him. Oh wait, wasn't that supposed to be you, Son Goku?" And ultimately, from beneath the rubble, Goku, on hearing these words, the mention of his deceased son, his final moments, and the laughter of his cold-blooded killer, sends Goku over the edge. As with a ferocious explosion of aura and energy from the debris, Goku yells with pure, unadulterated rage, his energy itself rumbling the entire planet. And with his head bowed, it's clear from his hairstyle and mysterious divine aura, Goku was no longer a Super Saiyan, but had finally activated his mastered Ultra Instinct, somehow finding a way to get his emotions in check once more after the disrespectful words of Cell. With veins bulging, he calmly just says instead, You don't ever mention my son's name again. This power, this is Son Goku. And witnessing this incredible feat after pushing Goku to the utmost limit emotionally, just as Gohan was in the true timeline, Cell stands in a state of shock, only able to cover himself from the bright light and flow of smoke and debris that berates him. Until... in a turn of the tables, Ultra Cell, as his name suggests, then enters his own mastered Ultra Instinct state, raising his head before opening his eyes and staring directly at Goku and saying with a smile, "Got it. Now let the real Cell games begin, Son Goku." So our story continues with Jiren smirking across at Vegito, still tucked into his giant apparition version of himself, having just revealed he's the new god of destruction of Universe 11. Still in deadlock with Vegito's own giant MUI silhouette, Vegito is left understandably in a state of disbelief, mumbling, "Jiren, how could you? Why?" Because he wanted to be the one to finish you for good, God Killer. As suddenly behind Vegito and Jiren, a familiar looking backside appears replying to Vegito. And it is revealed to be none other than the former god of destruction Belmod, looking on menacingly with his hands relaxed on his hips as he continues, "Greetings, Vegito. I see you haven't changed one bit since murdering Beerus. Here to now slaughter even your friend Jiren? Haha, you truly are heartless, aren't you, Saiyan?" Huh? Belmod! Immediately causing Vegito to turn around in shock as he continues once his eyes meet with Belmod's. "So, you finally turn up, clown. How? How could a monster like you even convince Jiren to become one of you? The Jiren I knew was on the side of justice, not the side of pure evil." Evil? How dare you? Immediately causing the jovial god to change expression to a scowl as he responds, "Us evil? Ironic to come from one such as you, who has indiscriminately killed so many. Gods, angels, even innocent children. Save your breath, as Jiren has seen it all. My angel used her powers to give him the complete rundown. He knows exactly what you have done and what you truly are, demon. Your motives, your victims, and your abilities. And just like any sane person with a heart, he decided your death is the only true path of justice. The only true evil here is you." What? Jiren knows? Everything? And still? There's no way. Leaving Vegito stunned as he for the first time discovers that Jiren, even with knowing the injustices Vegito had faced, still decided to become one of the very people that without care annihilated his entire planet. With a forlorn and completely dejected look, the Saiyan begins looking to the ground in deep thought, starting to question even himself whether what he was doing is the right thing. If even Jiren, a being with the greatest of moral compasses, sees him as the enemy. Jiren! He knows what the gods did! The people they killed! My friends! My family! all for the sake of a battle that I didn't even want, and I'm still in the wrong? Did those gods not deserve the same fate? Jiren, why? What have I done? And as Vegito's self-doubt and questioning of his morality increases, in almost a direct correlation, the MUI aura that made up his giant version of himself begins to slowly dissipate to nothing, just like his motives. As the still now seemingly saddened Vegito descends to the ground, still wondering, what have I become? And soon, Vegito's aura completely vanishes, and he just falls slowly in mental defeat, landing on the ground with a thud, and noticeably still silent, not uttering a word. Could it be finally that now faced with having to kill even Jiren, he's realized his revenge story was in the wrong the entire time? But the battle-hardened Jiren, seeing this, is not impressed in the slightest, annoyed even, as he wonders, what is he doing? Son Goku, have you given up already? This is not a game. You will die by my hand if you do not put up a fight. But Vegito, regardless of Jiren's words, just maintains his silence, still battling with himself internally about what he should do now. Are you listening to me, Son Goku? But Jiren, who had dreamt of this moment to fight Goku again at his best for all these years, begins to get extremely angry at Vegito's peaceful stance, continuing, Fine, if you refuse to talk, then there will be no mercy. For the gods and angels before me you killed, I will put an end to you now! Leading to Jiren following through just as he said, as Jiren's giant apparition pulls back with extreme force, gritting its own teeth as if it too wanted Vegito gone. All the while, Vegito remains motionless on the ground like an ant, as if finally having accepted his punishment for his crimes and ready, waiting for his death sentence. And just like that, in most likely the most powerful punch we'd seen in the entire series, Jiren's giant fist rocks the very surface of the planet as a huge earth-shattering explosion is seen in its wake. And eventually, as the smoke and debris from the attack leaves, under Jiren's fist, we see the tragic sight of crimson, red blood seep from underneath his knuckles, indicating in this instance there was no escape for Jiren's target. And Jiren too, looking down and noticing this, then comments, So he really meant to quit. Pathetic, Son Goku. I expected so much more from you. And with Ultra Vegito finally defeated and the threat to all the gods of the multiverse now over, Jiren just looks down solemnly as his giant apparition lowers its arms too. Jiren, now forlorn, then says his final words to the Saiyan, letting out, Son Goku, after defeating you in battle here, I had hoped to hear your side to this story, to find out just what would drive you to do the unthinkable, to kill the righteous and pure gods that ruled over us for so long without disturbance. But your silence in the face of Belmod and surrender said it all. Inside, I think you too finally knew that your punishment was well deserved. Goodbye, fallen warrior. But as Jiren says his goodbye, in the distance something stirs. Something with a power level Jiren had never experienced before. What is this? And instantly, like a shooting star, a burning ball of energy traveling at inconceivable speeds strikes head-on at the god of destruction, engulfing his entire body. The impact so great that not just is Jiren left helpless to do anything about it, but the pain it inflicts even causes the hardened Pride Trooper to scream in agony as saliva gushes out. And at once, as we zoom out of the scene, we see the attack shoots Jiren right through his giant apparition towards the ground, as even the giant himself looks nothing short of stunned at what's happening, like it had been shot by a sniper. Immediately leading to a monstrous impact on the ground rivaling that of Jiren's earlier punch, causing rocks and particulate to fly everywhere. And as we look on with a bird's eye view at Jiren and whatever hit him, all we can see is a cloak of thick smoke, until eventually Jiren's face can be seen, but round his neck is shockingly a hand covered in a familiar set of rings. What? How? As Jiren then seemingly realizes exactly who is on top of him. And of course, it is none other than Ultra Vegito, now finally in his final form that we have grown so used to seeing, as with one arm choking the God of Destruction and sitting on top of the completely disabled Jiren, he looks down and says, You know, you're surprisingly sentimental when you want to be. That little speech almost brought a tear to my eye, Jiren. But don't worry, I'm back. Hope you didn't miss me too much, warrior. But Jiren, seeing Vegito in the flesh and untouched, can't help but continue to look completely stunned, as he grumbles back, You, how? I hit you. I made perfect contact. I saw it with my own eyes. I felt the coldness of your blood with my own fists. This makes no sense. But Ultra Vegito, hearing this and not breaking any eye contact, is quick to just respond, Wow, Jiren, you really have lost it, haven't you? I guess becoming one of those weak gods yourself has brought you down to their pathetic level too. You're now even blinder than Sidra was. Ultra Vegito then turns his head and points his finger to where the fist lands and continues, You hit something, Jiren. I don't doubt that. But it wasn't me. I'm not sure what's wrong with your aim, but you better have a look that way. Are you sure you're not on my side? Huh? And so Jiren turns his head to where Vegito was pointing, and as we watch, we see the remnants of Jiren's apparition finally begin to fade, revealing what's underneath. But to our shock, on the ground, almost as flat as a pancake imprinted into the surface of the planet, is a brutally damaged Belmod, now crushed and contorted into an awkward shape. The god, who can barely keep one eye open, just mutters, Vegito, you damn... immediately causing Jiren to freak out and yell at the sight of his beloved Belmod being inexplicably so tragically hurt by his own hand. He yells out, Lord Belmod, how? I would never! Leaving Vegito to sinisterly laugh at Jiren's horrified reaction as he explains, Didn't I tell you I was levels above you still, Jiren? Your Ultra Instinct is still nothing but a beginner's toy compared to mine. I'll admit, I enjoyed our little dance, but I hate to break it to you, I wasn't even trying. And now that you're one of those scum destroyers, I have no more use in humoring you. The second you launched your pathetically slow attack, I grabbed that Belmod from behind like the clown he is, and switched him with myself. So fast, neither of you could even tell what happened until it was too late. Impossible! No one can move that fast. Surely not. This reveal, of course, taking even Jiren by surprise, as he can't even fathom the kind of ability Vegeta would need to pull that off, until finally he asks, "How is it possible to have improved this much? Son Goku, is this the power that led you to become a murderer? Did becoming power drunk really give you enough reason to kill the deities that deserved none of this? Answer me. What drove you to take the lives of innocents? God killer!" What? But hearing this for the first time, Vegito instantly pulls back and lessens his grip on Jiren in surprise, thinking to himself, "What is this fool saying? He truly talks like the gods have done nothing. But he does know, doesn't he?" Looking down calmer, Ultra Vegito then responds, "Innocence? I know you're in pain, but how delirious do you need to be to call these monsters innocent after all they did? That angel did show you, right? You know what Belmod did. He's the murderer here, the destroyer of my entire home planet, my friends, my family, all gone in a blink of an eye. He led the gods, and all 11 of them were responsible, along with their spineless angels who agreed with them." Jiren, hearing this, now can't help but be confused. This is news to him and was never shown to him at all by Margarita. But he then remembers these are just words from Vegito, while Margarita showed him an impossibly detailed vision. In anger, Jiren then responds, "Nonsense! Save your lies, Son Goku. I have been more than just told the story of what you have done. I have experienced the bone-chilling sight of the gruesome things you've done in person. I saw how you even killed your own god of destruction in rebellion. How do you explain that, Son Goku?" What? In rebellion? Leaving Vegito puzzled as he tries to figure out how Jiren has got it so wrong, continuing in his mind, "Something isn't right. If he truly saw what had happened, he couldn't get details like this wrong. Don't tell me that damn witch Margarita actually lied to him to get him to fight me. Isn't there some sort of damn angel law against that? He's hardly going to believe me over a literal angel. Unfortunately, it might be too late for him now." And with his thoughts steadied, Vegito does what he has no choice to now, as he raises his left arm in the air, displaying to us all the energy absorption device that is ready to do only one thing. As expected, Son Goku, your silence will always say 1,000 words. Now go ahead, take my energy and finish the job this time. To which Vegito immediately obliges, bringing his hand slowly towards Jiren's face, just whispering, "Sorry, Jiren. I would have thought with you losing your own family and friends, you would have understood me. But I guess this is the only way." And just like that, Vegito places his palm on Jiren's forehead, as the Pride Trooper, and now God of Destruction, just closes his eyes, accepting his death at the hands of the one and only God Killer. This is... But suddenly, Jiren is instead flooded with visions of the true past 10 years that led up to this moment, From Goku and Vegeta initially being threatened by Beerus to fuse and battle, to their correct fusion this time via their angel-grade Potara to make a permanent Ultra Vegito, to then the tragic betrayal of the gods who went on to erase everything Goku and Vegeta ever loved, before ending in the horrific imprisonment of the duo for an entire decade of torture. It seems that Ultra Vegito 2 has now gained the angelic abilities to pass memories on. And as Vegito removes his hand finally from Jiren's forehead, for a moment there is a brief respite, as if Jiren himself still tries to process what he's just seen until suddenly...
Vegito!
Finally, for the first time, Jiren refers to Vegito by his real name, as now the truth of his story hits him, his motivations, and the evil and injustice of the very gods he had signed his life over to join. For a moment, Jiren with half-closed eyes looks sorrowfully at Vegito, beginning to feel a sense of empathy for his cause, before saying,
"Enough. I've seen enough. Get off me."
And Ultra Vegito, who doesn't even hesitate for a second, not suspecting Jiren of wanting any more violence, immediately gets up on his command, as Jiren looks at him from below, still in silence. And as Vegito stands tall, in a relaxed stance with his hands on his hips, Jiren, without fear, also slowly gets to his feet. Angling his head, Vegito then asks,
"Sorry I scared you a little there, but I knew if I offered you a warrior's death, you'd let me grab you without issue. It was the only way I could show you what truly happened. I don't know what Margarita showed you, but I think it clearly left out some details. And now that you know the truth, tell me, Jiren, whose side are you on?"
Jiren, who still continues to look down at the ground in self-deprecation, hasn't got an answer just yet, as he sighs and begins to think deeply until...
"Give me one of those time rings, Vegito. Now."
Suddenly then raising his right hand towards Vegito, gesturing for one of Vegito's 5 remaining time rings of all things, which of course takes the Saiyan by surprise. Now leaning his head forward in disbelief, Vegito questions,
"What? One of my time rings? What for? You got some cojones asking for these. You probably got to see exactly what I had to go through even to get them."
But Jiren, with an unwaveringly serious look, just responds,
"I don't care. I know of those rings and their power all too well. I've seen it in both Margarita's and your version of events. But as it stands, neither of you are to be trusted. I will use those rings to travel to the past and confirm things for myself."
And for a moment, Vegito takes in this plan of Jiren's, trying to calculate just what the risks of giving one of the very gods he seeks to kill a time ring are. Before, with a smile, he closes his eyes, beginning to remove a ring, and says,
"You're lucky I trust you, Jiren. After all, who could say no to that lovable little face of yours? Just don't try and run away. I'm pretty sure you know by now, I have a habit of hunting gods down, wherever they are."
And with that said, Vegeta then tosses over the time ring he just removed, immediately being caught by the stone-cold-faced Jiren, who at this point still does not know who he must trust. Easily enough, Jiren then places on one of the time rings meant usually only for the Supreme Kais, as he looks at its glistening nature and comments,
"So, with this, I will be able to move freely between the past and present. With this, I will finally find out the truth I have been seeking.
And without a word more, and with perfect control, just as expected of a genius like Jiren, the god of destruction opens up a portal before him, before then walking without fear straight into it as Vegito yells, "Be careful out there! Come back soon!" And just like that, Jiren vanishes, leaving Vegito alone with his thoughts as he waits for the Pride Trooper's eventual return. About 30 minutes pass, and the heavily damaged Belmod has now regained some strength and begins getting up, grumbling however,
Damn Vegito! He'll pay once I heal up. That's if Jiren can't finish the job alone. Where even is he? That god killer's just been standing there alone for ages now.
But just as Belmod arduously gets onto one knee, a portal in front of him opens, and a familiar, bald-headed figure comes straight out. As Belmod, now with a beaming smile, albeit now missing some teeth, yells out,
Jiren! Finally! There you are! Come give me a hand, and we'll finish this together. I think Toppo's around here somewhere too.
And Jiren, somewhat uncharacteristically, appears to be in just as much a positive mood as Belmod, as he smiles and walks over to his former god and good friend with his arm outreached, ready to help the clown up, leading to Belmod even commenting,
Haha, you seem like you're in a good mood. Haven't seen you like this in years.
And Jiren, who agrees, still smiling, tries to explain his sudden mood change, referring to his time ring as he says,
Yes, well, Lord Belmod, this little device here is something special. Amazing even. With this alone, I was able to travel any point in time, in search of the truth.
But suddenly, the cheerful explanation is interrupted by an even greater change in emotion, as Jiren's face begins to look coldly and full of rage down at Belmod, as veins pulsate throughout his forehead, and he continues,
And as luck would have it, I just used this time ring to head back to when I was a child. The exact moment where I witnessed my entire village slaughtered. My friends, family, and master. You remember that night, don't you? Not too long after that, you just coincidentally found me. Right, Belmod?
And for some reason, as Belmod hears this, his own face begins to change to one of nervousness and fear, as if he has something to hide. As he trembles, he tries his best to reply,
Oh, is that so, Jiren? But, Jiren, wait, not all is as it may... Huh?
But instantly, the hand that was once reaching out to pull Belmod up switches to a flat palm that faces a frightened to death Belmod, as Jiren then suddenly lets out,
Hakai!
roaring the deadly words at the top of his lungs with so much conviction it would not have been inconceivable for him to have been trying to erase the universe itself.
Jiren! I'm sore!
As not even being able to utter his final sentence in the living world, Belmod, former god of destruction of Universe 11, is erased to complete nothingness by Jiren the Grey.
What? Jiren, what are you doing?
Leaving ironically Ultra Vegito completely bamboozled by the turn of events, witnessing firsthand now what he had done so many times up till now. As finally, Jiren reveals with closed eyes,
Belmod. You finally got what was coming to you. How I never suspected you as being the one who slaughtered my clan is something I will never forgive myself for. But I have finally avenged you, my brothers. I have avenged you, warriors. And I have avenged you, master.
So our story continues with Ultra Cell and Ultra Instinct Goku finally in their strongest forms now, as they stare down one another only inches apart. One remains completely stern and serious, while the other, just like in the original Z timeline, stands confidently, looking down with a smile. As we get a closer look though, in at each of their individual faces, we see the serious and angered scowl of God of Destruction Goku, as he lets out coldly, "Cell, I've waited 14 years for this moment, and I'll make things right today. This ends here!" To which a smirking Cell can only respond, "Oh, Son Goku. 14 years? It seems you really have lost your mind. I must have given you a concussion with that last attack. Never mind though. As long as you can fight, that's all that matters. This indeed will end here. And afterwards, you too will become part of greatness. Just like Gohan."
I told you to keep my son's name out of your mouth. Now I'm going to make this hurt, Cell. Enough with your overconfident Son Goku. You may be stronger than what the data shows you to be, but you're still nothing to me. I am the ultimate being.
And with that said, the two then resort to their fighting positions, fully powered up and now both coated in the divine aura of mastered Ultra Instincts.
Ready, Son Goku?
More than I'll ever be. And instantly, with nothing left to say, as if in perfect attunement with another, Goku and Cell in a flash reach each other's faces, with fists cocked and ready. Immediately making contact with each other's fists in perfect synchronicity. And ultimately, the result as expected is cataclysmic, causing what looks like a sphere of pure energy to ripple from their collision, destroying the very ground beneath. For miles and miles beyond, shockwaves would travel, devastating whatever was left of West City. But luckily, with Goku knowing everyone had already been absorbed by Cell, he had nothing to worry about. Eventually, the two would separate, with Goku jumping far into the air, while a close-by Cell mirrors him yelling,
"You've improved, Son Goku.
You're actually making me try a little. But how about we skip the warm-up and get to business?"
Cell! Goku!
As immediately, Goku obliges and rushes in with a roar as Ultra Cell does the same. But almost as expected from a battle of two Ultra Instinct users, Goku's initial flurry of kicks are dodged one after the other by a Cell who leaves after images of himself. "You call this speed, Son Goku? You feel even slower than before." But as Cell claps back, clawing for Goku's face, a classic emotionless Ultra Instinct Goku dodges right back, commenting, "We're evenly matched. I wonder what will turn the tables." And having said that, again, Goku's next attack too is easily read and dodged by the divine Cell. Cell, taking in Goku's comments though, thinks to himself, he's right. In this state, generic hand-to-hand combat will result in nothing. Before a cunning smile suddenly encroaches on Cell's face, as he says, But let's see how he handles some more advanced techniques. I'm sure Yamcha won't mind me using this.
Yamcha?
Leaving Goku puzzled at the sudden mention of his old friend and fellow Z-Fighter.
Fang Fist!
As suddenly and surprisingly, Cell reveals Yamcha's signature attack, rushing in at the Saiyan with the ferocity of a rabid beast. This time, with the speed and unusual movement of the attack, Goku this time is forced to defend, as he thinks, in a while since I saw that move, why does Cell use it even better than Yamcha? And feeling pressured, Goku then suddenly vanishes to gain some distance, as Cell, still in his Wolf Fang stance, taunts him. Haha, what's wrong, Son Goku? Not equipped to handle the power of your friend? You know, Yamcha's abilities aren't too bad when in the hands of a god. But Goku, looking on disapprovingly, stares down Cell and replies, I've met gods, and you're nothing like them, Cell. You're not even worth using Yamcha's moves. All you are is a cheap copy, and that's all you will ever be. Oh, that one actually hurt my feelings, Son Goku. Fine. If I'm not worthy of Yamcha's moves, then how about I try someone else? And with that, Cell then places 2 fingers on his forehead in a familiar fashion as he continues, someone I could call almost a brother, and according to my data, more of a father to little old Gohan than you ever were. Tell me how this one compares. That's... Leaving Goku in a state of shock as he begins to recognize yet another move. As Cell then begins roaring in a low tone, concentrating a vast amount of energy straight to his fingertips until... Special Beam Cannon! Instantly, with 1/10 the load time of the Namekian, firing off Piccolo's signature and most powerful move with ease, as fast as a bullet, the overpowered beam then rushes through the air, as deadly as ever and now amplified by a strange electricity. Even Piccolo's moves! This one moves so much faster than his though! This is bad. I don't want to end up like Raditz again. Why you? As immediately, Goku then appears behind the bio-android and yells out, you may have my friend's power, but your aim is nothing like his. Instantly angering the cocky and narcissistic Cell, who grumbles back, Son Goku, how dare you talk like that to her? Immediately spinning around with a right hook that catches Goku completely off guard with its speed, power, and ferociousness, sending the God of Destruction flying almost as fast as the Special Beam Cannon, straight into a nearby rocky face for a devastating crash. It's not long after though that a damaged and bruised Goku then just barely lifts his torso from the ground, and with just one eye open looks up saying, maybe he does hit harder than Beerus after all. He's so much stronger than we thought. He seems to just be getting stronger. Wait a minute, where is he? What little did Goku know, with his obscured vision, Ultra Cell was actually high up in the sky and curiously placing his hands in a familiar position. And suddenly, from Cell's own sight, we see within a triangular formation, Son Goku has been zoomed in on like a sniper setting his sights. What? No way! Is that Tien's? Tri-Beam Cannon! As yet again, Ultra Cell makes perfect use of one of the slain Z-Fighters' techniques, this time using none other than Tien Shinhan's Tri-Beam, which so ironically was used against the main timeline Cell in identical fashion. And just like that, the incredible move made famous by the Triclops rains down in an instant with unbelievable force. In its wake, leaving a perfect square burial site imprinted into the earth, now scorched and smoking from the heat of the blast. Nothing seems to stir until Goku once again reappears, this time even more damaged and holding onto his arm, levitating slowly up the air, until with a soft thud he lands finally on the ground above. His chest, now scratched up, also reveals now even his God of Destruction garb has been destroyed and ripped off in the process, and left staring at the ground, seemingly beaten, is a base Goku, who can only think to himself, It's no use. He's way too strong now. I can't do this. He's the best parts of all of us, even me. Just what am I supposed to do, guys? As a completely alone Goku seemingly begins to mentally try to talk to his deceased friends, as if slowly losing his own mind. But meanwhile, with no fear in his heart, Cell just confidently lands near the defeated Saiyan and asks with a smile, "What gives, Son Goku? Don't tell me you're giving up already. This was just getting fun. Hurry up, transform for me again. Make your hair longer, or change its color. Whatever you foolish Saiyans like." But Goku just continues to look forlorn in silence, not uttering a word in reply to the battle-ready android who'd literally been born for this one moment and battle with Goku.
What are you doing? Was that truly your limit? This is the Son Goku I became perfect for? Pathetic. Fine. If a coward's death is what you desire, then so be it. Die by one of your enemy's moves this time.
As immediately, in a fit of rage, Cell fires off nonchalantly a death beam straight out of the repertoire of Frieza, the same move that had ended the lives of so many in the past. And instantly, just like that, the beam shockingly hits Goku's face head on, seemingly blasting a hole right through his forehead as his skull snaps back violently. Cell, meanwhile, being the cold-hearted machine that he is, just instantly laughs at his kill, chuckling, "What a shot! Father truly built perfection in me. I never miss. The same cannot be said for you though, Son Goku. What a complete disappointment you ended up. Like father, like son, I guess." But curiously, as Cell celebrates, a strange grumbling can be heard by the Goku who inexplicably remains standing, as the air surrounding also begins to thicken. Now what were you saying about my son, Cell? As unbelievably, Goku immediately brings his face back into the picture, only to reveal himself now in the Ultra Ego form. UE Goku has finally been born.
What? What is the meaning of this? Why isn't this in my data?
Leaving Ultra Cell nothing short of shocked, as for some reason, though his cells gave him the knowledge of Ultra Instinct, for Ultra Ego, nothing seems to come out. But seeing his opportunity, and with the increased speed gained by UE, Goku closes the gap to be face to face with the android, commenting in his face, "Huh, keep your guard up, Cell." Leaving Cell nothing short of paralyzed in fear as he wonders internally, "He's fast, much faster than before. What technique is he using?" Goku, knowing that Cell is completely bewildered, just stares into his eyes and explains, "Haha, you're pretty helpless when you can't copy what your opponents are doing, aren't you, Cell? Well, unfortunately, though you're able to copy every technique we know, I had a feeling this one would draw a blank. After all, this isn't a technique, but more a transformation. A form of special abilities that are unique to a Saiyan. And just like you can't actually become a Super Saiyan, you will never be able to do this either. Looks like you're not as perfect as you think, Cell."
What did you say?
But as soon as Cell hears this, a ferocious grimace appears across his face in reaction, as he yells back,
I couldn't care less about your stupid forms. You Saiyans can change your hair as much as you want. Black, blonde or purple, it makes no difference to perfection.
And just like that, backing up his claims, almost immediately, Ultra Cell lands a straight punch right on Goku's face, sending him flying backwards.
I'm ending this game now, Goku.
As Cell, not wanting to let up, then vanishes quickly, only to reappear once again right behind the still mid-flight Goku, with his right arm already lifted in the air, ready for one thing. Meanwhile, Ultra Ego Goku remains with his eyes closed and blood splattering out of his mouth, clearly already in pain until...
Tell me I'm not perfect after this, Son Goku!
As immediately, Cell lands a devastating elbow right on the spine of Goku, leading to the transformed Saiyan to scream in terror with such a pitch, paint could be stripped from the walls. And in the immediate aftermath, Ultra Ego Goku is sent hurtling down towards the ground with a lifeless body as if already dead. My, I must say, after your little speech about having this new mystery form, I was a little worried. But this is child's play.
Be gone!
As Cell finally ends his beatdown by kicking Goku like a mere football, straight into the doors of a nearby commercial building, landing inside with a crash. But Cell, though pleased with himself, knows that Goku is still not finished, and comments, "Oh, Son Goku, I'll give it to you, you're a durable one. This new form seems to be good at taking a beating, but not so much at anything else. How do you expect to defeat me by not attacking? Get serious and go back to your white-haired form. At least that was a little fun for me." But Goku, though still intact, as Cell predicted, is unwavered by the taunts, appearing first as a rising silhouette within the dark building interior, before slowly, step by step, walking out onto the field to face the android, and with his head slightly bowed with a cold and unreadable expression, he slowly rises his head in silence. Until finally looking into the sky with an unusual smile despite his predicament, thinking to himself, "Perfect. That hurt like hell. But just like I trained with Beerus, the more of a beating I get in Ultra Ego, the stronger I get. I'm still not sure if I have enough in me to breach the gap between me and Cell, but there's only one way to find out. As Goku then immediately places his hands together, angling his body as he summons a powerful ball of energy, yelling, What is he doing? This chain of events, however, confuses Cell as he wonders, now what? After taking that horrendous beating, he surely doesn't think he wins with a beam struggle with the likes of me? Has he seen the state of himself? So be it. As Cell, just as expected, then places his own hands together, opting to now copy Goku's signature move as if to add further salt to the wound, before yelling out in tandem, Both suddenly and in perfect timing, blasting powerful Kamehameha waves straight at each other, in a shootout that can only be described as familiar, as the land itself begins to part like the waves of an ocean. And eventually the two beams meet and create a truly stupendous beam struggle. In the middle, a perfect sphere, split in half by both sides of their energies, each perfectly at the same power level, it seems. At least for now.
How unexpected, Son Goku! You actually appear to be keeping up with me. Your son would be proud. Just a shame you didn't turn up in time to save him. So,
which again pushes Goku's anger even further, but inadvertently causes yet another change too. As suddenly a smirk comes to Goku's face as he responds, "Ha! Amazing. Looks like the more you anger me, the stronger I get too. This must be what Beerus meant by increasing my lust for battle." What? Which Cell, with his super hearing gained from Piccolo's cells, responds, "Lust for power? What nonsense are you spouting this time? Don't tell me you still think you have a chance in hell of beating me. Because if you do, Son Goku, allow me to show you, you aren't the only one with a secret."
Because I've barely been trying!
As immediately Cell shockingly showcases just how far his strength truly goes, as visibly his Kamehameha wave begins to overtake and swallow whole Goku's own.
Damn it! He still had all that in the tank!
Leaving Goku panicked even in his Ultra Ego form as he finally lets out, "Looks like I was right about Cell after all. He's just too strong. I can't win this one-on-one. Not unless..." But suddenly, out of the same building doors Goku had come out of earlier, a figure shoots out with speed.
Cell! What? How could...
And to our surprise and the absolute shock of Cell, suddenly a second Ultra Ego Goku appears right in front of the android, his palm flat and faced directly at the bio figure about to yell the one word that could only mean the end of Cell.
What sorcery is this? There are two of these freaks now? What has Son Goku done?
Leaving Ultra Cell for the first time in the entire fight, now feeling somewhat fearful, unable to figure out what is even going on now as two threats attack him at once. Haha, don't look so down, Cell. But Goku, now loving the change in atmosphere, begins to smile and in typical fashion explains, "I'm surprised you can't figure out what I did. You must have forgot about my good friend Tien. He taught me this little trick. He calls it the multiform technique. Splits a perfect copy of myself with a portion of my energy. And what's great is, they can use all of my techniques too." But before Ultra Cell even has a second to process what Goku had just said, his copy, still in the air and point blank to Cell, finally screams the fatal call of the destroyers. And just as expected, with Cell preoccupied and wasting so much of his energy and resources in fighting the Kamehameha battle with the original Goku, his body, naturally but more slowly than usual, begins to erase to nothing. This is ridiculous! No! What can I do? If I let this Hakai get me, I'll be erased forever! If I let this Kamehameha hit me, I'll be damaged severely. But I will survive. In fact, I'll regenerate and come back even stronger. Thank you, Piccolo! Okay! And in a sudden twist, Cell turns his attention and power straight to the second Goku, yelling out his own Hakai, which not only stops his own erasure, but instantly begins disintegrating Goku's clone too. But God of Destruction Goku, being no fool, planned this entire time, and spotting his time to shine, thinks, "This is it! This is my chance!" And while mid-beam begins shouting out, Hakai! Blasting unbelievably the very first Kamehameha Hakai in Dragon Ball history, blasting forth with all his might, with even the spirit of Teen Gohan from the original timeline symbolically aiding in its power, as if the two Saiyans know this is the only way to make things right in this alternate universe. Goku! And of course, with this newly Hakai-powered Kamehameha shot at the unsuspecting android, finally, it begins to erase Cell with speed. His whole body becoming engulfed in the sheer power and size of the beam, until eventually, nothing but particulate matter remains, defeated finally by the one technique that was not in Cell's database. And in the aftermath, Goku, having given absolutely everything he had inside him, instantly reverts back to base by force, his body and mind exhausted beyond belief. As finally, he lets his arms and head go down, but with a truly happy smile, he whispers with the last bit of his energy, "I did it. Daddy really did it, Gohan." Before then falling flat on his face unconscious on the surface of the planet that he once more protected from utter destruction. But meanwhile, somewhere else entirely, the scene zooms out to reveal Goku is being watched in a crystal orb, and soon it's revealed to be by none other than Whis, who had been watching the entire battle go down, as he peers at the orb and comments, "Well, Lord Beerus, that was far more entertaining than I think even you predicted. But it does seem our future God of Destruction may have finally come of age with that display." To which a positively menacing looking Beerus, listening in, responds back, "Yes, it seems like finally Son Goku is ready for me." time to fight this so-called Super Saiyan God. So our story continues with Jiren standing stone-faced, staring forward after his shock murder of his own former friend and god, Belmod, while in the background, Ultra Vegito still remains in utter disbelief.
Jiren! What have you done? What the hell is wrong with you? I'm guessing you saw what he did to my planet, but damn it! Belmod was my kill! Could have at least given me a heads up. Huh? Wait a second.
But as Ultra Vegito scolds Jiren, suddenly he is forced to turn his head in panic as an ominous power level begins to rise out of nowhere. And in the distance, thunder and lightning begins to spark through the air as a tall and large silhouette stands at the very epicenter. But who could it be?
Jiren! You damn traitor! You will face justice for your actions!
As shockingly, it is revealed to be Toppo, now in his full-powered Hekaishin form. And after 4 years of training in the Pyramid of Power, even the planet itself begins to quake in fear from his strength. As he stands confidently with his fists clenched, Toppo comments one final time.
Son Goku, you have poisoned even the mind of my greatest friend. But nothing will excuse the crime of murdering our former god and pride trooper Belmod. New god of destruction or not, Jiren, as weakened as you are, your death will now be by my hand. Jiren!
As suddenly, like a cannonball, Hekaishin Toppo rushes in at Jiren with all his might. His conviction secured at what he must do for the sake of Universe 11, even if against his old friend. But as Toppo reaches within touching distance, curiously, a seemingly still deep in thought Jiren just remains still, almost as if he too realizes he must face justice for what he has just done.
Jiren, move!
But suddenly, an alarmed Ultra Vegito, watching all of this drama play out, is quick to get into action and jumps into a fighting stance as he thinks,
I forgot about that damn beast man! This is bad. Jiren is still pretty banged up after what I did to him. I'm gonna need to step in.
But instantaneously, before Vegito can even move an inch further, a massive explosion is seen at, curiously, exactly the spot where Toppo and Jiren were. And as the dust settles, it is shockingly revealed to be from the impact of Jiren's giant apparition, which somehow has returned to the battlefield in an instant, even with Jiren's current state. And at the base of the giant fist that is cemented into the ground is a cracked surface where someone has been completely flattened. And as the humongous hand then slowly moves away, crumbling rocks from its knuckles as it moves, Toppo, Pride Trooper of Universe 11, is shown to be the victim, imprinted onto the planet's surface, damaged to heck, with not even both his eyes being functional, as he mutters,
Jiren, I can't move. Why? What?
Which Ultra Vegito, having watched this all go down, is left near speechless, as he thinks to himself,
no way! Jiren still had that much energy in the tank? Then why did he give up so easily? Was he holding back against me?
But Jiren, who couldn't care about neither Vegito's shock nor the pancake Toppo before him, turns back to where the erased remains of Belmod reside and looks down dejected, before uttering out,
sorry, Son Goku.
but I had to do this. Belmod could only die by my hand after what I witnessed, not only for my sake, but for the sake of my people too.
Your people?
Hearing this though, the oblivious Vegito, who did not hear anything that was exchanged between Belmod and Jiren earlier, queries on.
What do you mean what you witnessed?
I don't follow, Jiren.
You consider the Earthlings your people? I had no idea you felt so strongly about us, you lovable lug. Or is this just some lame reflection of your own brand of justice?
Jiren though, initially remaining quiet, then finally turns his head to look at the Saiyan and reveal the truth, as he says,
No, that is not what I meant, Son Goku. I did intend to go see what happened in your past. Indeed, I wasn't shown any of what you showed me when the angel entered my mind. But as I thought of your story, as you say, it did remind me of a certain incident in my own past. So, in the end, I opted to travel over 3 decades back to when I was still a child. Back when I had my master and friends in my humble village known as Doro. It was the exact moment they were all slaughtered before my eyes by a beast I never truly uncovered until just now. The monster who killed my master, my friends, my family, was Lord Belmod himself. The same man who found me orphaned and gave me purpose in the Pride Troopers was the same man who orchestrated my entire life until this point. What? Those damn gods!
Leaving Vegito now looking on seriously at Jiren with his arms folded and back hunched, as he angrily continues.
I should have known. That creepy clown was always bad news. This is exactly why the reign of those so-called gods needs to end, Jiren. From the Supreme Kais to the gods of destruction, this messed up system needs to end. No creature, divine or otherwise, should be deciding who lives and dies at their whim, and without explanation or anyone to answer to. You would have never even found out what happened if it wasn't for these rings. An item that is gate-kept by the very gods we need these things to find the truth about.
Jiren, hearing this and now done wallowing in the sadness of his actions, then begins to take off the time ring Vegito had given him as promised, saying as he does so,
Son Goku, I understand why you are doing this now. What motivates you and drives you to do the things that no mortal ever would. But this idea to remove all gods, Supreme Kais included, regardless of whether they were involved or not, how are you so sure that is the correct path all universes should follow? Surely, there should be some exceptions.
But without even a moment's hesitation, with a steadfast conviction, Ultra Vegito responds,
Jiren, listen to me. When I was imprisoned by those gods, for 10 years I suffered. Suffered for something I never even wanted to be involved with in the first place. A battle with a god of destruction who I was powerless to deny. Threatened with destruction if I didn't participate in his game. It reminded me so much of when Beerus first came to Earth. Even then, he threatened the erasure of my home planet unless I could show him a Super Saiyan god. It was only by luck we could produce something for him. But just how many other planets are there that didn't get the same luxury? The role of a destroyer is to erase planets like they were particles of dust needing to be hoovered up. That kind of devaluing of life, Jiren, of mortals, can no longer exist as long as I'm alive.
And hearing this surprisingly poignant and deep explanation, Jiren can't help but succumb, drooping his eyes as he begins to empathize greatly with Vegito's cause, saying back,
I see. Though I can't just yet decide whether you are on the right side of justice, there's nothing I could say that will sway your decision anyway. And neither can I tell you you are wrong about what you say. But I do have one question for you, Son Goku.
throwing his removed earring at Ultra Vegito, which is swiftly caught with ease, before staring Vegito right in his eyes and continuing,
If I had remained against you as the new god of destruction for this universe, would you really have destroyed me just as you had the others?
And for a moment, Ultra Vegito just watches Jiren in silence, giving nothing away with his poker face expression, all the while slowly placing the time ring back on his hand as if it had finally returned to its rightful home. Until suddenly, in an unexpected turn of events, Ultra Vegito vanishes without a trace, leaving a confused Jiren to yell out,
Son Goku, where did his energy go? What are you doing?
As Jiren then notices something out the corner of his eye right behind him. Something clearly so shocking, it even has the normally stone-cold Jiren alarmed. As when we zoom out, we eventually see is none other than Ultra Vegito once again on the battlefield, but now firmly placing two fingers on the back of Jiren's head as if emulating a gun and ready to blast the new god of destruction's brains out. Meanwhile, Jiren, who almost instinctively begins to hold his hands up in fear and surrender, can't tell himself what the god killer's intentions are, before Vegito lets out coldly,
Of course I would have, Lord Jiren.
And with his fingers still pointed firmly at the former Pride Trooper, Vegito then sternly demands,
Now that you have your answer, I need you to do something for me in return, Jiren. And I'm sure, after what you just found out, you'll have no problem doing this. Summon your angel attendant, Margarita, at once.
And on hearing this, Jiren's fear instantly subsides as he closes his eyes and begins to give the God Killer's request some thought, thinking,
The angel. I know what will happen if I summon her. Belmod deserved his death, but does she too? Yes, she does.
As with a cold expression, Jiren suddenly makes his mind up and snaps his fingers. And just like that, behind both Jiren and Ultra Vegito, Margarita appears on command, just as an attendant should, with Vegito commenting,
Well, hello, female Whis. Hope we didn't disturb your little holiday, but the men would like to talk to you now.
Huh? Jiren? Leaving Margarita in a state of disbelief as the first sight she sees on her sudden arrival is shockingly her own god of destruction who was meant to annihilate Vegito, now on the end of what would seem a fatal blast. Margarita, now panicking, would then yell out, What's going on, Jiren? Why did you bring me here? I thought you would handle this yourself. As Vegito, now pleased with her panicking, explains with a sinister smile.
Well, would you look at that? A summoned angel questioning why her god summoned her. My, you would never see Whis asking Beerus. Tch, what a pathetic excuse for an angel you are. But now that Jiren has been defeated, guess he doesn't really need an angel anymore, does he, Margarita? As she hears the Saiyan's last line though, a stroke of fear comes across her face, and she mumbles back, Jiren, you were beaten? So that means... And immediately, with a shrieking scream, rather than battle Vegito head-on fruitlessly, the Angel of Universe 11 makes a run for it, knowing all too well the horrific powers of Ultra Vegito. But almost instantly, as if expecting it himself, from Vegito's left arm, splattering Namekian goo as it flies out, Vegito unleashes his Cell Tail. Immediately wrapping around the Angel's neck perfectly and as tight as an anaconda, slowly squeezing the very air and life force out of Margarita, until finally, the tail, which moves as if it has a mind of its own, then brings its pointed needle end right in front of Margarita's face, which instantly causes her to plead pitifully one more time, No! Vegito, please! I don't deserve this! It was all Belmod! It was! But just like that, the tail makes its move, and in a gruesome scene, it strikes face first, but seemingly, from the angle, it doesn't appear to have struck quite in the middle. What have you done to me? As horrifically, we are treated to the sight of Margarita's left eye exploding in her face as the tail punches it without mercy, leading to an ocean of blood spurting forward as she screams. But perhaps in a show of mercy or just extreme power, Margarita's life force and organic matter is almost instantly absorbed into Vegito, leaving only now a lifeless, wrinkled shell, which Vegeta without care then tosses into the wind like a loose bin bag, flying in the air like a kite until Vegito yells, "Kai!" screaming with enough intensity as if he was doing this for Belmod too, simultaneously snapping back his tail into his android arm as he does so. And as expected, the Angel Margarita then erases right before the eyes of Vegito, turning to dust before disappearing completely from the universe forevermore, as Jiren prefers to not even dignify her with one final look. But with the Angel now taken care of, God of Destruction Jiren then turns his attention back to Vegito, realizing now that the Angel's energy has been absorbed, now only the God of Destruction's remains, as he says, "So, what now? Margarita has been absorbed by that disgusting machination of yours, and from both your visions, it seems you don't stop at just absorbing the Angel's power, but the energy of the Destroyer too. Given I've already erased Belmod, I'm guessing you're not quite satisfied. Am I your next victim, Son Goku?" But in response, Vegito just remains quiet, instead opting to move his hand slowly away from the back of Jiren's head before walking past the surprised god without fear, and with an unreadable smile on his face, as Jiren questions after him, "Son Goku, where are you going? Belmod is no more." But as we zoom out, as the thunder from Toppo's power-up still rages on, it is revealed Ultra Vegito is actually walking towards the former candidate,
still paralyzed on the ground from Jiren's earlier attack. And as he finally reaches Toppo, Vegito, still smirking, then lets out,
"Yes, Jiren. Well, that would be the case normally. But lucky for you, you aren't the only one left here with destruction energy. In fact, I have a feeling Beastman over here may have had even more in him than you did."
As soon, Toppo, who had lost consciousness, regains it on sensing Vegito's movement. He barely opens one eye, looking to the direction of the sound he hears until...
You! God Killer! You will pay!
Reacting in anger and fury still, despite his now powerless state. But Ultra Vegito, who in typical fashion has a sadistic smile watching Toppo writhe in pain, then responds,
"Relax, Beastman. This will only take a second. Besides, what good is destruction power to someone who couldn't even make it to the title of Destroyer? Weren't you a candidate in line before Jiren? What a disgrace."
As immediately following this, Vegito swiftly smacks his palm onto Toppo's face and slams it into the ground as Toppo struggles in pain. Until finally, just as fast as Margarita's energy was sapped away, so too is the energy of Toppo, as he now remains on the ground, near lifeless, but still alive. Vegito, now having gotten everything he needed from this universe, then stands back up, while Toppo remains mute on the ground beneath him, before turning to Jiren and saying,
"Jiren, listen carefully now, because I'll only say this once. You remain in this universe as its god of destruction, and though I know you well enough now to trust you won't make the same mistakes as your predecessors, you can't stay here anymore."
This sudden statement though takes Jiren by surprise, as he looks at Vegito wide-eyed and queries further,
"What are you saying? What do you mean I can't stay anymore, Son Goku? This is where I belong. Or is this some way of telling me you must erase me regardless?"
But Vegito, who's far from a joking mood, looks on sternly and continues,
"Because, Jiren, you too are a god killer now. And Zeno, and the Grand Priest for that matter, will not take that standing down. You know that as well as I. Eventually, they will come, for both me and you. I'm ready, but I'm not sure you are. You need to keep training. I sense within you a great power, a potential that could even surpass mine. And one day, when I finally face those two scumbags in the final battle, I'll need you, friend. You have one of those god summoning buttons, don't you? Hand me yours."
describing of course the same unique button Zeno once gave Goku and the god of destruction Sidra had given Bergamo. Jiren hearing this then smiles, pleasantly pleased with his old friend's request, as he begins rummaging in his back pocket for said button while saying,
"Fighting alongside Son Goku, a god pairing with the renowned god killer. Not exactly what I was expecting from today's outcome, but as they say, stranger things have happened."
And so with a smile, this time more genuine than the one he gave Belmod, Jiren walks over to Ultra Vegito saying,
"I hope, warrior, I do become of use to you in the way you say. I stand with you,
Vegito. Before then handing over the button to Vegito in almost like a handshaking fashion, as Vegito smiles back at his friend and replies,
I already know you won't let me down. Train up good. Now that you're a god of destruction, you should have access to the Pyramid of Power, shouldn't you? An angel known as Beerus once showed me. Summon it and spend your days there until you have reached my level. The longest I could withstand is 10 days, but I'll try my hardest for your sake, Son Goku. See you soon.
As Jiren then nonchalantly snaps his fingers, and immediately before Vegito and Jiren, the Pyramid of Power erects itself in all its understated glory. Jiren, knowing his mission and having said everything he would ever need to, then walks into the pyramid with just his hand waving goodbye one last time, before the doors of the training facility shut behind him hard, not to be opened again until at least 10 days later, or so Jiren thought. Vegito, now all alone outside the pyramid, has some time to reflect on everything that just went on during his trip to Universe 11. He may not have had the pleasure of killing the God of Destruction, but somehow supposedly gained the future aid of another. A slight darkness then looms over the Saiyan's face as he looks at the ground in great contemplation, still not uttering a word, as if figuring out what his next possible move is, or just battling with some inner morals that will come into play sooner than we think. Vegito stares at the door intensely for a moment, to us viewers though, it's not clear why. But instantly, without a hint of warning, Ultra Vegito blasts out a powerful ki beam, and just like that, it hits directly on the peaceful, unsuspecting pyramid, right on the same doors Vegito stared at, leading to a massive explosion, and unfortunately leaving behind a pile of broken and scorched rubble. And as the dust settles and sways across Ultra Vegito's face, a sinister grin now appears, as Vegito lets out,
Sorry, Jiren, but if I'm ridding every universe of their God of Destruction, then this one will be no exception. Train hard, warrior.
Jiren, of course, inside, who was already in the middle of training, suddenly too then notices the massive explosion of the pyramid entrance. The blast being so powerful, it is even visible within the alternate dimension. And yet again, left behind is nothing but rubble and smoke, as the only door out becomes lost forever.
What? Son Goku, what have you done?
As a truly shell-shocked and disbelieving Jiren stands terrified, hoping this is just a dream, as he now, betrayed by the God Killer, must exist in this dimension for seemingly the rest of eternity. So our story continues with Ultra Vegito having just blown up the Pyramid of Power, with Jiren still inside, trapping him for seemingly eternity. While Jiren, with his hands grabbing his skull intensely, panics in confusion and anger, yelling,
Son Goku, you treacherous animal! How? Why would you do this to me? I was on your side. I told you I would help. Why? Why not just kill me? Why trap me to a fate worse than death, Son Goku?
While Ultra Vegito, still outside, then begins to stare into the center of his palm, as if he too cannot believe what evils his own hand was capable of, until finally letting out,
Sorry, Jiren, but in order for you to be of use to me in the final battle, I'm going to need you to become stronger than your wildest dreams. I know you have the potential, but 10 days is far from your true limits, warrior. What I have done will confuse you for some time, but I know firsthand, only with anger and vengeance in one's heart can one truly become powerful. Use your hatred of me to get yourself to the next level, just as I have used my hatred of the gods to skyrocket myself to where I am now. You'll be safe inside there from even the eyes of Zeno and the Grand Priest for now, but not forever. So I'll see you soon, my friend.
Revealing to us finally the true intention behind trapping Jiren inside. As finally, in the palm of Vegito's hand, it is also revealed the summoning button that Jiren had given Vegito last chapter. A button that will allow Vegito to call upon Jiren when the time is right, and in the inevitable final battle. With his job done in Universe 11, Vegito then flicks his fingers and instantly mobilizes his angel staff, as he simultaneously thinks introspectively,
Belmod, that crafty clown. How interesting that he was the one behind murdering Jiren's family. But why? Not like I can ask him now. Damn, Jiren was just a little too trigger happy with that Hakai. Must have picked that up from me.
But not done yet with his contemplation, Vegito then looks up into the sky and continues.
But I can't help but think there's something more to this story. His last words were, "Not all is how it may seem." And to be honest, though I've taken Toppo's destruction energy, it hardly compares to that of a fully fledged destroyer. I want Belmod's energy, and I guess there's only one way to get it now.
And with that being said, Ultra Vegito then places his hand out to his right side and instantly opens up yet another portal, letting out,
"If the Belmod of this timeline is gone, I'll just find another in a different one. Besides, I need my questions answered."
And just like that, Ultra Vegito then slowly enters the portal and finally leaves. Eventually Vegito leaves the portal and lands on the ground with a quiet tap. On the other side, eventually Vegito leaves the portal and lands on the ground with a quiet tap. As he notices, as expected, Vegito, always on guard, immediately begins observing his surroundings as he notices,
Where am I exactly? There doesn't seem to be anything around here but barren soil. Did I arrive too late, perhaps?
But as Vegito then brings himself to walk further along, he eventually reaches the edge of a nearby cliff face.
Now we're talking. Would you look at that? This is where Jiren the Grey was born, huh?
As over the cliff face, Vegito and ourselves are treated to a view of a primitive village on the ground, hidden amongst the mounds of dirt and few and far between vegetation. As Vegito continues,
"So I am on time. The village is intact, and so are its inhabitants. Now where is that damn clown?"
Meanwhile, down in the village, we see a number of adult warriors, each practicing and sparring with another, honing their skills, just as Jiren had described of his village and family back in the Tournament of Power.
Yeah!
But speaking of Jiren, we eventually do see our first sight of the little fighter, as he extends punches with vigor under the watchful eye of his master, Gichin. Standing tall with his Namekian-like green skin, he raises his arm and shouts enthusiastically to Jiren, "That's the way, young Jiren. Faster and faster. But do not forget to keep your guard up." As the prepubescent youngster looks back with a smile of admiration and responds, Yes, Master. Got it. Ultra Vegito in the meantime watches on with a visible smile and his arms folded, taking in great pleasure at the sight of such a joyful Jiren, commenting,
Oh, look how skinny Jiren used to be. Hard to believe that runt turned into the powerhouse I know now. And I guess that green man is his so-called master, and he can't stop yapping about. I wonder how strong he is.
But suddenly, before Vegito can enjoy any more of the scenes down below, Vegito senses the presence of an ominous evil energy and killing intent. Eventually, Vegito then tries to spot where it even is coming from, fearing the worst with who it could be.
What the hell is it? All I see is damn mountains! Ah, there you are!
But eventually up in the sky, Vegito finds out exactly where the strange presence originates. And in the air is of course none other than Lord Belmod, God of Universe 11, cloaked up and hooded as if to hide his identity. Giggling in the air as he says,
So finally, the time has come, young man. Hopefully, you will thank me for this when you're older. But the ritual of the divine starts here. Universe 11 will finally have its next god of destruction to bring our mortal level to the very top. Remember this day well, young Jiren.
As Vegito, realizing who the figure is, then grunts out,
Just on time, aren't you, clown? Ritual? What is this makeup caked freak even saying? Time to get some much needed answers.
As Belmod looks down menacingly and yells out one final time,
Say your last words, Jiren. Godhood awaits you. He'll be saying goodbye to nobody, clown. Huh?
But just as Belmod readied himself to slaughter Jiren's village, as he was supposed to in the original timeline, a rugged voice calls out from behind him.
What on earth? Who could?
And as the panicked god turns his head, 3 familiar fingers with even more familiar rings are already seen perched on his shoulder perfectly.
Who the devil are you?
As shockingly, perhaps not to us though, Ultra Vegito then appears right behind Belmod, with curiously 2 fingers already on his forehead, readying an instant transmission as he lets out,
Let's move a little away from here, shall we, Destroyer? I think you're one clown I don't trust to have around these kids. Where have you taken me?
As Vegito then moves a short distance away from the village to the surprise of a furry creature watching on from behind.
Invaders!
As we are then treated to an image of a young Toppo reacting in pure fear to the sudden arrival of Ultra Vegito and Belmod. 2 figures he had not yet met at this point, but because Ultra Vegito had met Toppo in the future, he was then able to use instant transmission to travel straight to his location. These guys look like trouble. I must go get Mother. She'll deal with them. She'll deal true justice. As Toppo then swiftly escapes with his tail between his legs. Belmod though, who is both outraged and taken aback by this sudden stranger manhandling him, smacks Vegito's grip off himself before jumping back to gain some space. As he lands, he then yells out,
Who the hell are you? Do you have any idea the trouble you've just got yourself into? How dare you touch me with your filthy mortal hands?
While an unfazed and still smirking Vegito looks back, still holding his hand up from where he had grabbed Belmod just moments earlier, and replies,
Mortal? You know, I might have had some trouble figuring out your identity, but with that kind of addressing, you sound awfully like a god. I know that ridiculous paint on your face was a dead giveaway, but you wouldn't happen to be Lord Belmod, God of Destruction of Universe 11, would you? What? How does this punk know who I am? And that we're in the 11th universe? Only one man here should know anything about that.
Leaving Belmod in a slight state of panic as he reveals at least one in this village would know this kind of information. But done with the games and theatrics, Belmod then opts to remove his now pointless disguise, throwing his robe to his right and saying,
Alright, so you aren't as stupid as you look with that ridiculous hair. So, who are you supposed to be then? A warrior from Gichin's village? Or just one of his busboys? Though, you do seem a little too skilled for that.
But Vegito, now sporting a more serious and focused look, hunches his head forward as he responds quickly.
No! I'm a friend of Jiren's, and I have a question for you, clown, that I was hoping you'd be able to answer for me. I just wanted to know, exactly why are you planning on murdering that young boy's entire village and master before his eyes while leaving him alive? Huh? What the?
The question, of course, leaves Belmod shocked once more, as he thinks instantly to himself, trying his hardest to not outwardly show it.
This can't be! Knowing the face of this universe's god of destruction is one thing, but how could he possibly know the ritual plan? Not even Margarita knows of what I'm doing right now. I knew there was something off about this guy. Why? Why does this freak speak like he knows me so well, though?
But the clown god soon then changes his look to a fake smile, trying his best to win the mental warfare as he calmly replies,
Haha, I have no idea what you're talking about, mortal. What a strange fantasy for such a lesser being to come up with. I didn't even know your minds could create such stories. But regardless, I will not be questioned by a lowly mortal. Prepare to be erased for wasting my time. Maybe if you can survive this, I might have some answers for you.
And following this, continuing his confidence, Belmod then brings out 3 cards, each surrounded in her Kai energy, and much like her leaves with her arrows, these are far more dangerous than they seem. As Belmod lets out, pick a card, any card. One touch of these and you disappear forever, young man. Let's hope for your sake you're good at poker. As instantly Belmod then tosses all 3 cards at once, leaving no angle to dodge whatsoever. Meanwhile though, as come to be expected of Ultra Vegito, he just stares down the attack without fear, just thinking in his head,
I guess I can't blame this god for trying. Not like he would know how futile this is.
And so, Ultra Vegito remains completely still, as the Hakai cards reach within touching distance, despite his earlier experience with such a technique. But at the last second, in a display of perfect mastery of Ultra Instinct within his Ultra form, Vegito, almost in slow motion and with the slightest of movements, dodges every single card with the smallest margins for error, ultimately leading to a massive explosion on both sides of Ultra Vegito that blows wind and debris across the emotionless Vegito, swaying his bangs in all directions as he coldly lets out,
guess I'm better at card games than I thought, clown. And here I thought the house always wins. What in the name of Zeno? Preposterous! No mortal from this planet should be able to move like that!
Leaving Belmod understandably gobsmacked, witnessing not only a destroyer's attack be dodged like child's play, but also through use of what seems a divine technique of the angels. Continuing his state of shock, Belmod begins uncontrollably stepping back slowly, until suddenly a lone stone on the ground appears right behind his heel unknowingly.
Wait, what?
Instantly causing the god to trip back and fall, seemingly too scared to even regain himself until... At the last second, a hand we know all too well appears from out of nowhere to grab Belmod by his destroyer garb collar, saying,
Don't worry, I've got you, Ronald McDonald. You're not going anywhere.
As soon as the scene zooms out, we see Ultra Vegito, now with half his shirt ripped from the explosions around him, standing dominantly over Belmod, with noticeably his signature Godslayer blade extended outwards, as he stares into the eyes of Belmod and says,
Listen, clown, I know even you're clever enough to know when you're utterly outclassed. Tell me the answers I desire, or die here and now. And trust me, there's no coming back from my idea of a death. You aren't the only one who possesses the power of Hakai. What? This mortal knows the abilities of the destroyers too?
Leaving Belmod horrifically cornered, as he can't even call this stranger out on his bluff, given his earlier display of what was obviously Ultra Instinct, leading him to respond back,
Okay, relax. I'll tell you what you want to know, tough guy. Jeez, it's not like it's a secret anyway. Hardly more of a secret than knowing I'm the god of the 11th universe. Just let go of me, will you?
And so Ultra Vegito then obliges, sensing that Belmod is as powerless as any timeline's version of him, as Belmod, now dejected, then calmly sits down with his legs folded before beginning.
Listen, I don't know who you are, but you're right. I did come here to kill off Jiren's village and family. But you should know, it was for good reason. For the good of this entire universe.
As Belmod then looks into the distance and continues,
Whoever you are though, it does seem you are familiar of the destroyers, so I spare the intro to who we are. But we destroyers, along with another set of gods in this universe, known as the Supreme Kais, maintain the mortal levels of our respective universes. The mortal level of a universe is affected by many variables. Sometimes that level is determined by the number of planets that exist, or the strength of its destroyer. But mainly, it is down to the overall life force and power levels of the beings that occupy it. Supreme Kais create life and watch over it for millennia, but only a destroyer can put the wheels of motion into play to create powerful life forms. But a destroyer can only live so long, and not just any being can become one. A god of destruction must by default be one of the strongest, if not the strongest within one's universe, and must be able to compete with destroyers of other universes too. Not only to raise the mortal level, but to sometimes simply just survive. Destroyers can be pitted up against each other for the enjoyment of the Omni King. The loser can often find their universe erased. But finding such candidates to become one is not easy. So we destroyers have a ritual that we use to create such candidates with overwhelming power, and just enough coldness in their hearts that they could take up the mantle of God of Destruction and perform the heartless tasks that come with the job. Huh? This sounds familiar. Like the Tournament of Power. Did Zeno hold similar competitions for the gods also? I remember Whis telling me of 6 universes that were already erased. It couldn't be!
But as Vegito momentarily ponders, Belmod recommences.
And don't look at me like that, as this ritual is the same one all gods of destruction use. By killing off the family and friends of a candidate while young, we break all the bonds that get in their way. We leave them to grow strong on their own, often seeking power and vengeance to eventually kill whoever slayed their family. Or sometimes they grow strong just from the darkness that fills them afterwards. It's a proven tactic that has worked time and time again. And Jiren undoubtedly would have become unsurmountably powerful by the same mechanic. In fact, it is all foretold already by the Oracle Fish beforehand. Every destroyer has access to one, and is given the prime choice for the next candidate using them. What?
But on the instant that Vegito hears this, even the cold Saiyan is taken by surprise, as he continues,
You monsters! You damn gods really had sick enough minds to come up with something that stupid? Nonsense! I don't believe that for a second. There's no way every god does that. Tell me the truth!
But Belmod, who doesn't even show a sign of being unfaithful in his story, just scratches his head with a smile, thinking back as he replies,
Huh? The truth? Look, kid, I'm not lying. This is the route all destroyers take, whether you like it or not. It's been this way since the beginning of time. Even I went through the same exact thing. It wasn't my village though. It was my wife, Harley. Man, I miss that chick. But since you know me by name, I'm going to guess you know the others too. The rat god, Kitela. You know that little annoying midget? He erased a young warrior known as Ganos's entire species while he slept, and then took him in after promising him he'd train him to one day avenge them. He's actually who I was basing my plan off. Then there's Jin, that blockhead with too much power for his own good. Murdered the son of a prodigy known as Gaiba. Cold-blooded thing that honestly birthed a real monster. When the day comes that Gaiba takes up the mantle of destroyer, I don't know if any of the universes will be safe. And then there's even the laziest of us gods, Beerus. That fool just sleeps and sleeps. Last I heard, he's going to get some lackey known as Frieza to destroy the planet of a powerful fighting race, leaving behind one sole survivor, the Prince, who is said to have not only an exceptional power level, but also the darkness in his heart to make a fine destroyer. Wait, what did you just say, clown?
But now, things have hit the fan with Belmod's last piece of information, as the once completely oblivious Vegito now realizes everything, as he questions more.
Beerus was behind Planet Vegeta's destruction? No! No! It can't be!
Instantly causing Vegito to grab onto his skull with both hands as his brain begins to go through a million thoughts and his emotions reach a boiling point that will tip him over in an instant.
Vegeta! I I was chosen from the very beginning to be the next destroyer. My planet, my father. Beerus is the one who got Frieza to do it? That can't be! Huh?
But Belmod, who has no idea why the mystery man before him is acting so erratically, only responds in blissful ignorance.
Vegeta? Come to think of it, that might be who he was on about. He said it so long ago. The Oracle Fish told him well in advance. He's a kid though, so I don't know what you're saying about you being chosen. You may be able to Hakai as you say, but that doesn't make you a destroyer, kid.
Belmod, still relaxed, thinking he's done nothing wrong, then closes his eyes and smiles, ignorantly persisting.
He probably heard it wrong from the fish knowing that fool though. Those Saiyans in his universe are a bunch of tailed dumb apes. Nothing like the sort in Chompa's universe. If it were me, I would have got rid of them instantly long ago regardless. Haha, no universe needs trash like that around. Not a single one of them would ever amount to anything, much less a god. You!
Instantly causing Vegito to grit his teeth in anger, looking at Belmod. His veins beginning to bulge as he struggles to control his inner rage and need for violence. The planet itself quaking from this inner battle within until...
You, Beerus, and all the gods are the same! None of you can remain!
As Vegito's anger inevitably then explodes viciously, causing him to rush in at Belmod like a demon. And in a flash, the fused Saiyan grips Belmod's neck with both arms, immediately choking him as the god can barely say a word.
Hey! Cut it out! Stop!
But soon, the real reason for grabbing Belmod's throat comes clear and quickly, as Vegito's left arm indiscriminately begins absorbing every cent of energy from the cloud. As Belmod, realizing, squirms one last time.
What? Stop! Stop! I told you the truth! I told you everything!
But just like in Vegito's timeline, Belmod once again doesn't get the opportunity to finish his final sentence in the living world, as his eyes go completely blank, now energyless, dead, and never to bother the young Jiren in this timeline. And just like that, Vegito coldly drops the dead god straight on the floor without a thought, his head bowed in darkness as he remains deathly silent. It's unclear if his rage has subsided or if he is still battling with himself over what he had just found out. But not even a few seconds later, the emotionally charged Saiyan breaks into tears once again. Tears of what seem like rage, as his teeth remain rubbing over each other and even the red veins of his eyes begin to spread wildly. It all becomes clear, as with a roar that even the Grand Priest and Zeno would hear, Vegito roars at the top of his breath, screaming out the name of the god that ultimately betrayed him. The name of the god he spent 10 years regretting that he had killed, not knowing all along that same god looked on his entire species as disposable.
Huh? What is that? What is this dark energy?
As from some distance away, the sudden power-up is immediately sensed by Jiren's master, Gogeta.
Jiren, stand back and go inside. Something bad has arrived, young warrior.
As Gichin then places his arm in front of the scared future Pride Trooper, as if implying he will now go face the monster known as Ultra Vegito. So our story continues with Ultra Vegito in a frankly scary state, enraged having just heard the life-changing information from Belmod that explained exactly how Planet Vegeta was destroyed, and crucially, Lord Beerus's supposed involvement. With his body still surrounded in his mysterious black lightning, he grabs his head, complaining in pain as if his anger itself is causing a headache.
There's always something with these gods. Not one god can be trusted. I'll get the truth one way or another. Just you wait, Beerus.
And with that said, Ultra Vegito then lifts his right arm into the air and using his time rings, immediately opens up a dark and ominous portal to the unknown, looking down on the planet before him and muttering,
"This timeline truly is a forsaken one. If not for Jiren now, it is for me. I'll never forget those words, Belmod, not till the day I die. I pray I never return, but at the very least, Jiren will grow up different this time around. Farewell, warrior."
But meanwhile, back in the village of the young Jiren, Gichin, his master, remains alert and cautious as he places his arm in front of the young disciple and lets out,
"Jiren, stay here. You hear me? Do not follow me. I will be back soon. But for the safety of everyone here, I need to see what that strange disturbance was."
And instantly at speed, the green elderly man shoots off into the sky right towards the unsuspecting Vegito. But as Gichin approaches closer, unsurprisingly, he begins to become alarmed at what he sees, muttering,
"What on Doro? What is that in the sky?"
As when we look from a different angle, we see exactly what Gichin sees, as it is indeed Ultra Vegito atop a corpse with his latest time portal open right above him.
What?
But soon, Gichin with his sharp eyesight is able to make out who exactly the deceased figure on the ground is, and as he realizes, he whispers out,
"No, it can't be! Lord Belmod!"
As on the ground, lifeless and his pupils missing, lays none other than Lord Belmod, former god of destruction of Universe 11, and apparently a good friend at some point of Gichin himself. Gichin moves in closer to verify, completely unfearful of Vegito, thinking to himself,
"It's true, Lord Belmod, the god of our universe slain by him."
Before instantly enraged, Gichin rushes in at Vegito with a fighting style reminiscent of an older Jiren, yelling,
"You will not get away with this! Stand right there!" You're kidding me!
But with that loud yell, Vegito finally senses the unexpectedly low power level of Jiren's master rushing towards him. But unlike his first thoughts on seeing the green-skinned warrior, right now, after hearing Belmod's revelation, this couldn't be any more of a worse time to make an introduction.
Not in the mood right now, old man! Be gone!
As the angered and ticked off few Saiyan then nonchalantly swipes his arm, clearly in an effort to immobilize but not fatal. Regardless though, a powerful wave of air like a tsunami soon appears and heads straight for the surprised master.
What is that?
Before having even a second to dodge though, it strikes head-on to the elderly teacher, sending him flying backwards like a ragdoll. And the distance Gichin travels seems to be far greater than expected, and when he eventually does land flat on his back, it is with enough impact, the solid ground beneath him breaks apart. With his eyes closed, trying to let out the pain, he yells out, but no one is there to hear him. And as he struggles to open one eye, he lets out to his attacker,
I failed you, Lord Belmod. I'm sorry, Jiren.
But meanwhile, an oblivious and cold Ultra Vegito, who is still reeling from his mission to gain answers, just looks down at the injured Gichin and says,
So melodramatic. I refuse to believe the so-called master of Jiren could be so weak. Get up and move, or lay down and die. It means nothing to me either way.
And with those cold, ambivalent words said, Vegito disappears into the time portal, arriving in an unknown timeline, leaving Gichin behind with no one around to help treat his injuries. Hold on, Master! I'm coming! By a stroke of luck, the young Jiren, who couldn't help but do something to help his master, is seen running right towards Gichin, despite his orders. Master Gichin! As eventually, the youngster spots his teacher, seemingly just lazing about on the ground. Tears of happiness then begin to overflow from the naive child's face, perhaps even blurring his vision, as with a big smile he yells, Master, you're here! I knew you'd be okay. I'm sorry for disobeying you, but I had to. But as he finally reaches within touching distance, Jiren finally begins to see clearer, muttering, Master? As he then sees tragically that Gichin, even from just the slightest of waves from Ultra Vegito, has died from his injuries, just like he was supposed to in the original timeline. For a moment, the young Jiren, who is unable to comprehend what he is seeing, the first time he is even seeing death, just remains quiet. As he tries to move his body though, the writing becomes clear on the wall. As within Jiren's giant alien-like eyes, the reflection of his dead master finally becomes undoubtable. No! Master! As the young Jiren, now with tears of sadness bursting forth, yells at the top of his voice. Now once again, despite the death of Belmod, alone, and the same need for vengeance in his heart to one day find his master's killer. Just this time, still with the entire village to help him accomplish his mission. But somewhere out in the depths of space, the scene shifts, and the ship that we see floating in the air is undisputably the ship of the Emperor of the Universe. As when we look inside, at the helm, we see Frieza in his first form, standing tall, looking out of his window onto a familiar planet as Zarbon and Dodoria, his two right-hand men, stand right behind him. But soon, a caped foot steps forward towards the door of Frieza's room. And suddenly revealing himself and walking through without fear is none other than King Vegeta. As we finally then realize the scene we are seeing is in the distant past, before the prideful king then yells out, Frieza! It's over! Your reign of tyranny over my people ends here! We've come to overthrow you once and for all, Frost Demon! But Frieza, hearing this, just turns around calmly and with a sinister smirk just responds, How bold of you, King Vegeta. But we? You and who else, my dear monkey? Your army is so petrified that they're blue in the face. Perhaps you should rethink this and head back to your little castle. Causing King Vegeta to immediately turn around to his men, and indeed, though they remain standing there, from the blue hue across their faces, not one of them truly feels brave enough to take on the powerful Frieza before them. Fools! Instantly angering the embarrassed king, who turns back angrily to Frieza, having been proven right, as he grumbles one final time.
If these cowards don't have the backbone to stand up to you, then so be it. As the king of all Saiyans, it should be by my power alone that you breathe your final breaths, Frieza. Prepare yourself!
As immediately, with as much conviction and ferocity as his future son, King Vegeta launches into the air, his fist cocked back, ready to attack Frieza head on. But unfortunately, just as we watched all those years ago, the king appears like a mere child before the emperor, as his first punch misses with the slightest of movements from Frieza. My, that almost hit me, Monkey King. Keep on going. I'm sure you'll land at least something. I wouldn't want you to embarrass yourself in front of your own men, would I?
Shut it, Frieza! I'm just getting started!
As unyieldingly, King Vegeta prepares yet another attack, foolishly increasing his strength, but doing nothing to his speed. But yet again, Frieza with ease just dodges down and escapes, his arms still behind his back as he smiles and laughs. That was even worse than before, monkey. Are you sure you've had your bananas today? Maybe it's about time I fed you something else instead. As King Vegeta, who had happily been on the assault all this time, suddenly finds himself struck with fear as the powerful Frost Demon begins an attack of his own.
No! I can take this! What?
You the devil?
What the?
As simultaneously, Frieza, Zarbon, and Dodoria all react in shock, as Vegito suddenly appears to inexplicably save an equally shocked and quite frankly relieved King Vegeta.
What? Who are you?
Eventually leaving Frieza more angered than shocked as he looks into the eyes of the strange Saiyan-like figure, wondering if he recognizes him from anywhere. Continuing. I've never seen you among the king's elites. Don't tell me you're one of his lowly grunts. How dare you touch me, monkey? You'll die first if you're so eager to cut in line. But Vegito, who seems on the outside calm, but most definitely still enraged on the inside, just remains deathly silent, staring into Frieza's soul as if just to intimidate him.
Let go! Let go!
Meanwhile, Frieza tries his hardest to struggle and get his fist free from Vegito's grip. But eventually, despite being surprised that he can't break free, he then turns his head rapidly towards his two guards and yells,
Dodoria! Zarbon!
What the hell are you two imbeciles waiting for? Do something or die later, fools!
Yes, my lord!
As immediately the two visibly in fear henchmen simultaneously yell out in support, and both then mobilize into their respective fighting positions as if they would do anything to Vegeta.
It's an insult for those two ugly weaklings to even attempt to attack me. They can die for it.
As Vegito then turns his look and aimed towards the two elite Frieza soldiers, and with his hand raised, a shining ball of energy begins to appear on the top of his finger. Until suddenly, as fast as a sniper, Vegeta fires off two speedy energy blasts with extreme precision, that even leave the famed Emperor surprised with the outcome. As immediately, we see the brutal impact of Vegito's attack, with both shots firing right through the skulls of the paralyzed in place Dodoria and Zarbon. You, Lord Frieza! And when the angle changes, we are treated finally to the gruesome sight of both Zarbon and Dodoria, with what can only be described as bullet holes right through their foreheads, as rivers of blood drain down their stunned but lifeless faces, eventually both landing on their knees hard, until eventually smashing on the floor face first, now deceased and silent. There's no way! Leaving Frieza now shell-shocked at what he had just seen, from a Saiyan no less, as his whole body begins to uncontrollably shake in his first experience of fear in decades.
What power? Who is this?
While King Vegeta, knowing that the stranger had protected him and was somewhat on his side, stands shocked and more impressed than anything, knowing firsthand just how powerful both Dodoria and Zarbon were. Vegito, who couldn't care less though about his latest two victims, then finally turns back to Frieza and says,
Listen up, Frieza! That was just a taste of my power. I know full well those two lugnuts were the strongest of your men. And I assure you, they won't be the only two casualties if you don't start answering my damn questions. What? Answer your questions?
This manner of speaking though, from the stranger who just murdered his own men, instantly triggers the tyrant though, as an angry Frieza responds, Do you have any idea who you're talking to, monkey? You will die before I answer anything! Ha! As with his teeth gritted in rage, and with his spare arm, he attempts to finally launch a fruitless attack at the Divine Saiyan.
You're going to regret that, Frieza! Did he just...
As Vegito, with a near empty expression, as if he just cut through butter with a knife, swipes his arm in a flash, and instantly dismembers the arm of Frieza in an ironic and cold callback to what the Emperor would have gone on to do to Nail.
Ah! My arm! What have you done?
Leaving Frieza to quite rightly scream in pain as he permanently loses one of his limbs, and seemingly so easily to one of the so-called monkeys he was about to eradicate. King Vegeta, meanwhile, just stands still, infatuated with the scene of his glorified slave driver completely defeated, bleeding profusely at the hands of a completely random warrior, as he thinks internally,
This man, he is no ordinary fighter. Who is he? Is he truly this much stronger than even Frieza? And a Saiyan? No, it couldn't be.
Frieza, now having lost a good chunk of blood and coming to terms with the pain of Vegito's attack, then falls to the ground, his knees bent but not touching the floor, as he's held still tightly by Vegito's unyielding grip. But the Saiyan, continuing his serious look, lets out,
Still think it's a good idea to not answer me? Feel free to try again. I don't mind leaving you one leg too.
What? Okay, fine, I bend. What the hell do you want to know from me? As this last threat then abruptly causes Frieza to change his tune and agree to Vegito's requests, as Vegito smirks and says,
Now that's a good boy. Gotta say, there's something extremely satisfying about seeing you in this position for once, Frieza.
But with his tone changed, Vegito then gets down to business and asks,
Tell me, Frieza. Tell me the real reason you're staring out your window at planet Vegeta. Tell me the reason you plan on destroying it today along with all the Saiyans. Was it Beerus? Was the god of destruction of this universe the one who gave you this order?
Huh? How could he know that? Frieza, hearing this, is left gobsmacked, almost to the point he forgets about the pain from his severed arm, as he thinks to himself, this is preposterous. This damn monkey couldn't possibly have heard my conversations with Beerus. Was he among my ranks this entire time?
What? Beerus?
While King Vegeta has a completely different reaction, as he thinks back to his own experiences with Lord Beerus, catering to his every beck and call, being even more of a slave to him than to Frieza. As he continues,
That monster was working with Frieza this whole time? But why? He told me he would spare us if I obeyed him. I'll feel so foolish if this is true.
But Frieza, knowing that his orders from Beerus regarding the ritual were to be top secret and not to be shared at risk of his own erasure at the hands of a god, just quickly manages to regain his composure and spouts out instead, the god of destruction? What are you talking about? What business would a destroyer have with the likes of me, let alone caring about a planet of lowly apes? I simply wanted these ticking time bombs gone. As you can see from their rambunctious king over there, they were always prone to rebellion. It was a matter of time, and not one I wanted to wait on within my own army. Especially with the rumor going about that one day a so-called Super Saiyan would appear. Of course, if that happened, that would pose all kinds of problems for myself. So I decided to get rid of them all here and now. If you hadn't stopped my punch, he'd be dead already. That is the truth of the situation. Happy now, monkey?
The truth? That's what you call the truth, Frieza? I warned you.
As Vegito, hearing this, becomes wide-eyed, as the entire ship itself begins to vibrate under his rising frustration until... As Vegito, without a second's thought and with true intention on his face, slams his fist into Frieza's skull as hard as possible, leaving the Emperor not only bloodied up, but with his teeth now missing and flying out as he yells once more in complete agony, only able to mutter, "Why? I told you! I promise!" But now angrier than ever at Frieza's insolence, even in this situation, the Saiyan yells,
I said the truth, Frieza! This is your final chance! One more lie, and I send you to the next dimension! You know as well as I do, you don't give a damn about the legend of the Super Saiyan! You don't believe it for a second, and even if you did, tell me why you would so conveniently plan on letting Prince Vegeta, a Saiyan with one of the highest power levels at birth, survive. And why do you even plan on keeping him within your army to grow even stronger? Does that sound like it makes any sense to you, Frieza? Just try and deny what I've said, and I'll make sure you die a death far worse than Beerus could ever give you.
Stop! Frieza, though, in fear at this point, places his bloody half arm out in a futile effort to cover himself, before conceding further. Okay, it's true! It's true! I'll tell you the truth. This is pointless, and it seems you know everything already. And for a little while, there is silence on board the Frieza ship, until finally, Frieza begins the real explanation. Looking to the ground, as if trying to recount hidden memories, the Emperor lets out, "Yes, it is as you said. Beerus the Destroyer, the most powerful being in this universe, a god, demanded the destruction of planet Vegeta, one of my own enslaved planets that proved profitable time and time again with those battle-hungry monkeys working for me. Of course, I couldn't say no, but it was supposed to be his job, yet he forced me to do it, a favor I had to do in exchange for him letting me continue my affairs, some of which was destroying planets myself, an act destroyers apparently can sometimes see as encroaching on their turf. But it's true, for whatever reason, he asked me to spare the prince before I destroyed planet Vegeta. So I sent that twerp and his weakling men off on a mission not too long ago in preparation for this day. I was told to raise him and hone his battle skills. I didn't get it at first, since the monkey would hardly ever even reach the level of my Ginyu Force, let alone become a challenge for Beerus. But I did it anyway. After all, there's not much else I could say, but yes to that damn destroyer. And that's really all I know. In response, a look of gloom then strikes the king's face, as his earlier fears become confirmed, thinking to himself, "What? Vegeta? What business would Lord Beerus want with him? What is the meaning of this?" But meanwhile, Vegeta remains in silence, with a surprisingly more calm look, as if he was expecting the reply and now was just absorbing it mentally until he finally says, "I knew it. Thank you, Frieza." And with that said, Vegeta then politely lets go of Frieza's one remaining fist, leading to the Emperor yelling ecstatically, Finally! But just as Frieza finishes, Vegito silently changes his hand position to that of a flat palm in front of the confused Frieza, who mutters, "Huh? Monkey? What are you doing?" As instantly, in a cold move expected of the God Killer, with fury in his heart, Vegito shouts out at the top of his lungs, ironically, the signature move of Beerus himself, erasing the downright confused Frieza on the spot, and almost instantly, so fast, the Dark Emperor couldn't even move an inch or say a word. Until in the end, before Vegito and the shocked King Vegeta in the background is just the dusty, final remnants of Lord Frieza, who in this timeline will never be revived again. What? Frieza? He defeated him? Leaving the king truly wondering if he was dreaming or if this was really reality. So our story continues with Ultra Vegito staring in deep thought at the space that once occupied Frieza, the Emperor of Universe 7, just after erasing him from existence. Now in his place are just the final fragments of dust that once made up the Frost Demon of the Namek saga. But also standing watching the same spot is the nothing short of stunned and speechless King Vegeta, who can only think to himself,
Frieza! He's gone! This isn't a dream! We're free! We're finally free!
But soon enough, his attention is turned to the strange assailant in the room with him, who he can only assume is on his side as he asks,
Young warrior, you've managed to do what our people have dreamed of doing for decades. Tell me, who are you? Are you one of my men? I can't help but feel I've seen you somewhere.
But Vegito, who almost channels the Vegeta side of himself, quickly turns his head and quips back,
No, I'm not one of your men. But I guess I'm a Saiyan. A Saiyan you sent off to an innocent planet to take over. And I'm also the Saiyan that just saved your entire planet from being wiped off the face of the universe. So I'd say you owe me a little favor.
The king, hearing this, is more than thrilled. His suspicions over Frieza's killer being a Saiyan finally confirmed as he roars back ecstatically,
I knew it! Of course power like that had to come from our elite warrior race. And yes, you have saved us, my young friend. I am completely indebted to you. You must know just how long we have been utterly enslaved by that monster. First by King Cold, and then by his even worse son. Name your prize, Saiyan. Any planet you desire will be yours to rule over. Their women, all yours to do as you please.
But instantly on hearing this, an angry scowl appears across the face of Vegeta, thoroughly unimpressed with the king's response as he replies,
Listen, old man, if I wanted a planet, do you really think I'd need a weakling like you to get it? What makes you think you can just turn up at any planet uninvited and take it for yourselves? How does that make you any different from this monster you called Frieza? You may be mortal, but you're just as bad as the gods. The gods?
Which immediately leaves the king once again stunned in fear, as he too senses the change in atmosphere but doesn't quite realize what he had said wrong. After all, weren't all Saiyans at this time bloodthirsty warriors and planet conquerors? But it's not long before Vegito then goes on to coldly explain what he truly desires, saying,
What I want? No. What I command you to do is never set foot on another planet again. Your days of plundering and stealing other planets is over. Frieza's tyranny has ended, and so you have no reason anymore. Being a warrior race is no excuse. Get rid of your damn tails that make you lose control in the moonlight and stick to yourselves from now on. Fight for good. Defend the weak who can't protect themselves from the likes of Frieza. Break the cycle. Don't exploit them the same way he did to you. What? That's absurd!
Of course, immediately after hearing this, the king can barely even believe what he'd just heard, and from a fellow Saiyan no less, as he responds back,
What do you mean, remove our tails? Are you sure you're a Saiyan? That is the source of our power. For millennia, we have had them. We have these specifically for taking over planets. No population alive can handle us once we transform. We may not have Frieza forcing us anymore, but traveling to other planets to take them over is how we survive.
His face then changes to one of confusion as he continues.
Young man, you do know our very planet itself, now called Vegeta, was once called Planet Plant until we came. Planetary takeover is steeped in the Saiyan way. I'm afraid I cannot honor your request. I will not give up the power or the tradition of my people.
But Vegito, hearing this, is completely unwavered in his demands, saying,
Yes, I know that already, King. After you fools destroyed planet Sadala. And how exactly did you do that? By transforming en masse to those Uzaru beasts, destroying the very planet that was your own. Huh? Sadala? How would you know about that? Only the Saiyan elites should know that information!
But while King Vegeta remains surprised, Vegito turns around quickly and continues.
But fine, if you're so adamant on not changing, then I guess there's no hope for you or the rest of your people. If power is what you seek, then allow me to show you what true power is! Huh? Oh, wait! Stop!
As Vegito then callously brings a flat palm towards the king's face, in almost an identical way to how he did to Frieza moments earlier, just before erasing him forever.
What is...
But instantly, within the mind of King Vegeta, we then see what Vegito was truly doing, as rushing through in an instant are the memories and knowledge of each of the Super Saiyan forms, from Super Saiyan 1, 2, 3, God, and then finally Blue. Abruptly, King Vegeta then drops to his knees.
That was the true power of the Saiyans? That is what we are capable of!
Leaving the Royal Saiyan wide-eyed and in complete disbelief as his body begins to profusely sweat as he takes in the massive information Vegito had just imparted into him. Vegito, though, now done with what he wanted to do, walks away as he places 2 fingers on his forehead, readying his instant transmission, until he finally lets out one final command to Vegeta.
Remember what I said, old man. I'll be sure to check in on you one day. But one more thing before I go. In around 40 years from now, Beerus will be back, and he'll be looking for a Super Saiyan God. Don't you dare let him walk all over you again. Use what I showed you to full effect, or you will regret it.
And just like that, then vanishes. Before then eventually reappearing outside the ship, back in space, curiously with his hand out, ready to stop a certain speeding Saiyan spaceboat. Ouch! But once the space pod reaches a complete halt on the palm of Vegito's hand, we can see exactly who is inside. And it is none other than the young Kakarot, otherwise known as our hero Goku, who had just been sent off to Earth by his parents in hopes of saving his life. Who are you? Dad? The young Saiyan, who still has tears on his eyes from his premature goodbye to his family, just wonders who the strange red-tinted character he can see outside the thick crimson glass of the pod is. But Vegito, looking down with a smile, recognizing himself, just says assuringly,
Oh, Kakarot, you didn't change much at all when you grew up, did you? It's like looking at Goten all over again. Sit tight, little one. This time, you won't need to bump your head.
And just like that, Vegito vanishes once again. Then appearing finally back on the ground of what is presumably planet Vegeta, as two somewhat familiar figures watch on from afar, as one of them says, "Hey, Bardock, look over there." As we finally then see who the duo are, as they are revealed of course to be Bardock and Gine, the mother and father of Goku, as pure confusion comes over their faces as they see their son, who they just sent off, seemingly back now with a strange, topless older man, leaving Bardock to question,
"Huh? Kakarot? What the hell is going on here, Gine?"
I don't know.
Huh?
Vegito, though, is left equally confused at who the two Saiyans looking at him are, thinking,
"Who are they? Wait, that man! Isn't that Kakarot's?"
Before eventually a smile comes across the Fused Saiyan's face when he finally realizes the unmistakable resemblance between Bardock and Goku, as he lets out,
"Look at that hair! That's Kakarot all over! So that's my mother. Go figure, she reminds me of Chi-Chi." "Hey, you there!
But with their identities figured out, the confident Vegito then quickly and without warning shouts out to them, while at the same time opening up a new time portal. And as Vegito leaves, with comedically just half his body sticking out, and with a big grin, he says,
"Just to let you two know, Frieza is dead and your planet is safe. Young Kakarot doesn't need to be sent off. Take care of him, okay? He's going to be a real surprise. A heck of a lot more than Raditz at least. Goodbye, mother, father."
before finally then leaving. But of course, that final line leaves the young mother more confused than anything now, as she's left muttering to her husband, "Bardock, did he just call us mother and father?" But meanwhile, back with Vegito, a time portal opens in yet another unknown timeline, and the Saiyan softly steps out with a thud. As he looks around, we see he's on a crumbled and battle-scorched ground, white familiar tiles with clouds nearby. And as the scene zooms out, we finally observe that Vegito is back on Earth, standing on a Kami's lookout that has seen better days. Vegito looks around carefully, but notices something is definitely off, letting out,
It looks like the time rings took me exactly where I wanted. This has to be the universe I left Goku and Vegeta to battle Beerus in. Looks like the Earth is still intact, so at least there's that. Then surely, that means that they found a way to win. They must have underestimated how strong those two became training with me. But if that's the case, where are they then? We don't even sense Dende or Popo.
Vegito, still wondering, then walks down slowly over to the edge of the lookout, looking down onto the Earth, before he then closes his eyes and begins trying to sense the presence of either of the two Saiyans. It takes him a while, but eventually he realizes,
No! There's nothing.
Vegito, now forlorn and filled with a feeling of regret, realizes that neither Goku nor Vegeta's energies remain anymore on Earth, and realizing this, sulks internally.
They aren't on this plane anymore. I was foolish to believe they were ready for him, but I needed to get back to my mission. Beerus must have destroyed them in the end. But I don't understand. Why is Earth still here? Will this planet be saved by those two freaks in every timeline just for its food? I wouldn't put it past them. But whatever happened to Gogeta? I guess that'll just be one more question I ask Beerus about.
With that said, Vegeta then places 2 fingers on his forehead and looks to his right, trying to lock on to a certain deity, whispering,
"I'm coming for you, Beerus."
Before then immediately vanishing once more to a location we can all guess. Eventually arriving on a familiar divine planet with an even more familiar set of legs and dress standing in front. Huh? And who just might you be? As is revealed, of course, to be the angel attendant of Universe 7, Whis. But not soon after questioning Vegito, the angel in all his wisdom begins to put things together and thinks inside. Wait a minute. A mortal knowing the location of the gods. And there's no doubt he seems a Saiyan in stature. Could this be? But the impatient Vegito, who hasn't got time to be waiting for Whis' approval, just yells out commandingly,
"Whis! Cut it out with that silent treatment. I'll tell you who I am in due time, my friend. But first, you tell me where your damn destroyer is. I have a bone to pick with that cat. Especially after what you two did to Son Goku and Vegeta."
Ah, I remember now. You're the one who was with Gogeta-san when we first arrived on Earth, aren't you? Of course you are. Look at those time rings on your right hand, and even those angel-grade Potara too. Curious. But I'm glad you've come, because I'm sure the god of destruction of this universe would like to have a word with you too. He should be ready just about now. And just like that, Whis then taps the end of his staff into the ground, in a similar fashion to how he would normally reverse time. But instead, this time, immediately, the Pyramid of Power is summoned right before Whis and Vegito. Its door closed, but clearly a menacing energy already begins to emanate from it. The door then slowly opens, and a figure shrouded in what seems dark electricity comes out, but it's too far for our eyes to decipher whether it is truly Beerus until...
Was that 40 years already, Whis? I guess now that I can't age anymore, time will never feel the same, will it?
As suddenly, it is revealed to be an Ultra Gogeta that walks out confidently, covered in the dark, ominous electricity we once thought was synonymous with only Vegito. And most notably, around his chest is the garb of the gods. God of Destruction, Ultra Gogeta has arrived on the battlefield.
What? Who is that? It's like looking into a mirror. No, wait. That couldn't be them, could it?
While Gogeta just smirks at his old training partner and replies,
"Oh, it's me, Vegito. Just a little different. You know, just stronger than you now."
Vegito quickly though manages to calm himself, now more bewildered by Gogeta's appearance rather than his energy, as he asks,
"Well, that misplaced confidence definitely tells me this is you alright, Gogeta. But what's with the new look? Trying to copy my style? I miss the old you. That red hair and fur was starting to grow on me, you know."
but Gogeta, who is seemingly very much enjoying the interaction, just folds his arms and replies,
Me overconfident? I must have picked that up from you. But then again, I'm not the same man you trained with earlier, and I'm nowhere near as naive. Can you really not figure out why I look this way now? For 40 years now, I've been training, both separately and together, Goku and Vegeta. Now that I have risen to the rank of God of Destruction, I no longer age. I can train for as long as I want and as much as I want. A Saiyan's dream, you could say. And in that time, we mastered all the same forms you showed us in the hyperbolic time chamber. From God to even blue and further beyond.
Hearing this, Vegeta appears almost impressed, closing his eyes with a smile and replying,
Oh, so you did defeat that damn cat after all. What a shame. I had some business with him. But I guess it's no surprise when you managed to master the god forms, and on your own no less. You have no idea the kind of hurdles we had to go through to do the same. Kakarot needed 5 other Saiyans for God's sake.
Well, for starters, he wasn't on his own. And what business do you have with me, Saiyan?
That voice!
As suddenly, a powerfully deep voice from behind Gogeta calls out, instantly triggering something deep inside Vegito. As he looks beyond Gogeta and yells out,
Who was that? Show yourself now!
My. Now that is no way to talk to a former god. As shockingly, behind Gogeta is in fact revealed Beerus, still alive and surprisingly also coated in the same ominous black lightning of Gogeta and Vegito. As Gogeta, smirking and looking to his apparent training partner, then says,
Nice entrance, Lord Beerus, but I was hoping to surprise him later. He seems to be under the impression I defeated you. That would have been fun, wouldn't it?
Not even in your dreams, kid. But Vegito, meanwhile, is far from being in the same jovial mood as the other two gods, as instantly he swings his arms back and readies himself to attack, yelling,
Beerus! You're still alive! Perfect! Now it's time you told me the truth! And don't worry, this time I'll mean it when I kill you! Looks like you haven't changed a bit, Vegito.
As suddenly, in a shock twist, Ultra Gogeta then appears instead right in front of the shocked Vegito, intercepting him from getting any closer to the former destroyer, as he says,
And just what are you trying to do now, Vegito? I don't think me and you are done with our reunion yet. What are you doing?
leaving Vegito not only angered, but also puzzled as to Gogeta's confidence to get in his way. As he responds,
Get out of my way, Gogeta! I don't want to hurt you, but you know I will if I have to. You're protecting the wrong guy here! Remember who I am! That monster has done more to you than you know! If you give me a second, I'll make him admit it in front of you.
This comment from Vegito, though, seemingly sparks the interest of Gogeta. He replies, but it's not quite clear if he's being sarcastic or not, saying,
Really? Lord Beerus a monster? Tell me more, why don't you? And then maybe I'll think about letting you attack my teacher. Fine!
And Vegito, hearing this, then lifts his arm ecstatically and indeed begins explaining the truth of Beerus, saying,
Let's start off with teacher. What a lie that was. Would a teacher be the one responsible for the complete annihilation of your home planet and species? Yes, that wasn't just Frieza, but instead Beerus himself who gave him the go-ahead. He's the one who commanded Planet Vegeta's destruction. And the worst part about it was just so you could become what you are now. So you could become the damn next god of destruction. I don't blame you, as you didn't know, but you've played right into his trap. Do you understand?
And for a moment, there is silence as Gogeta takes on the information until...
Oh man, you're great! You really are too good at making these fictional stories up. Oh, Vegito. Fool me once, shame on you. But fool me twice, shame on me. And I'm not falling for this bullcrap anymore.
And with a stark change in expression, Gogeta then goes on with a serious look.
Isn't it funny how you now call him Beerus? What happened to that other lie you told me about him being called Monarcha? Remember that, Vegito? How he was a demon who destroyed your version of Earth in your timeline. You know, when I told Beerus about that, he actually gave me the pleasure of meeting the real Monarcha in person. What a nice guy he truly was. As you can imagine, after that, things didn't quite add up in the story you told me. Got anything to say about that, friend?
But Vegito, hearing how he had just been caught out over his lies, instantly looks dejected, defeated mentally before anything as he looks at the ground with gritted teeth and just grumbles,
Damn it! I know it looks bad, but that's not what I meant! I can explain, Gogeta!
Before any more can be said, Gogeta suddenly powers up, his full power on display within his Ultra form, as he steps into the iconic fighting position of Son Goku himself, yelling out,
No explanation needed right now. You're a Saiyan, right? So we'll talk this out the only way we Saiyans know how. With our fists. Sound good to you, Vegito? What power! This is just like mine!
Vegito, reacting to Gogeta's power-up, initially can only cover up his face from the pushback of the Saiyan's energy. But within seconds, the Primal Saiyan's battle urge awakens in Vegito, as a smirk is revealed once he brings his arm down, until suddenly... Vegito too, in unison, then immediately transforms into his Ultra form, his body surrounded in a thunderous aura, now poignantly in the signature battle stance of Vegeta. And with a smirk on his face, he lets out finally...
You know, you might be just one god I'll feel bad for killing. So be it, Gogeta. Show me what you can do.
So our story continues with the epic sight of seeing Ultra Vegito and Ultra Gogeta staring off at one another, each in their respective fighting stance of the two legendary Saiyans that made up each of their existences.
Now look at that aura of yours, and that lightning too. You've gotten pretty strong, haven't you, Gogeta? It's almost like looking at myself in the mirror. Don't flatter yourself. If there's one benefit of fusion dance over Potara, it's definitely the infinitely better hairstyle. You could never be as handsome as I, and you know it, Vegito. But you'd be right, there's definitely some similarities. After all, I too have now mastered both Ultra Instinct and Ultra Ego. And most importantly, figured out exactly how to combine them for the Ultra form. As within the mind of Gogeta, we see the flashbacks of not only the young GT Goku in his MUI form, but also the short-haired GT Vegeta in his MUE form. It took a while, but with all the tips you gave me when we trained, Beerus and Whis had their work cut out for them. But Vegito, hearing this, can't help but be a little surprised, but perhaps not for the reason we all think, as he says, "Impressive. To be honest, I would have never anticipated you to have mastered both without me. But then again, I didn't anticipate you to join with that god also. So all that progress was just from training with little old Beerus, huh? It hasn't even been long. In my timeline, Beerus would have spent most of his time sleeping." Watch your mouth, Saiyan. But of course, Beerus in the background, still covered in electricity and ready to battle at any moment, quips back in anger, continuing, "My timeline this and my timeline that. So it is indeed true. You are a meddler in time. A mortal committing one of the 7 cardinal sins determined by Zeno. I hope you know you won't go unpunished for this, kid. You're basically a walking dead man. I'll let you have your fun with your little twin over here for the sake of observing his progress. But once this is done, you're mine." Shut up, Scooby-Doo! I've killed you once, and I'll dispose of you even quicker this time! Sit tight, your time will come soon enough! Causing Ultra Vegito to immediately lose his temper, hearing the threats of Beerus, powering up his immense aura before rushing in with immense ferocity straight towards Gogeta, as if he was imagining him as the god of destruction himself. But of course, the battle-thirsty Ultra Gogeta on the other end, who near enough shares the same love for a fight as Vegito, just smiles, tensing his body as he lets out, "It's about time you stopped waffling. Let's give Arj's subscribers a real show! Fusion versus Fusion!" As having said that, Gogeta finally charges in at Vegito with a grin on his face, while the other few Saiyan, markedly, is far more serious. "This isn't a game, Gogeta!" Huh? Where'd he go? But just as the two get close enough to throw a punch, Ultra Vegito instantly vanishes. Well, that was anticlimactic. All that talk, and he runs away on the first exchange? What is he planning? And with that said, Gogeta then closes his eyes, in hopes of detecting the energy signature of Vegito. Come out, wherever you are, Vegito! How the hell has he marked his energy completely? Where are you? But as Gogeta continues to obliviously take his time in finding his foe, behind him an increasingly impatient Beerus watches on unimpressed. What did I tell you about watching your surroundings, Saiyan? Stop closing your eyes and look up, for God's sake.
as the former destroyer lifts his head and looks to the sky.
Huh? What are you talking about?
Causing Gogeta to break character and quickly copy his master in looking to the sky until he finally does realize.
What? What is he doing all the way up there? Coward!
Spotting up in the air something that looks no bigger than an ant. But as we zoom in the sky rapidly falling like a meteorite is Ultra Vegito. His arms bulked up and raised in the air as he shoots down yelling,
"If I'm so cowardly, then just stay right there. I'll be with you in a flash."
And literally, just like Ultra Vegito had said, instantly the enraged Saiyan crashes his fists straight onto the ground below where Gogeta was meant to be, sending the very surface of the planet to crumble all over and separate tectonically. In the aftermath, all that can be seen is a humongous crater, swathed in thick, dusty smoke. But out the gaps, the face of the God Killer peers through angrily as he comments,
"Looks like we know who the real coward is now, don't we, Gogeta? And correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought this was supposed to be a one-on-one battle. What's with the tits from Scooby? You gods might not fight fair, but we Saiyans do."
As Vegito then turns his head to the sky and now sees in an Uno reverse, Gogeta appearing like the ant in the sky, watching down. In the air, looking pleased with himself and smirking, Gogeta then responds,
"Sorry, I was trying to get up to you. Call it a miscommunication. But you do have a point. Beerus, I don't need your involvement anymore. I'm the god of destruction now. Remember that and step aside."
Causing the annoyed and disapproving Beerus to let out,
"Why, you ungrateful brat. Fine, so be it. But at least just get on with it now and stop holding back. You Saiyans really do love to make the most of a battle, don't you?"
"That we do. That we do.
But I guess you're right. It's about time I made my move."
Before instantly Gogeta vanishes and reappears right in front of Vegito, launching a punch that lands smack bang on his face. Leaving even Ultra Vegito to be somewhat impressed with the execution as he grunts,
"What speed! There was nothing I could do!"
As he's then carried, flying back, unable to regain himself from the sheer power and impact of Ultra Gogeta's fist. But Gogeta, not done in the slightest, bears a sinister smirk again as he continues,
"Gone so soon? Here, I can't let you leave without a little souvenir, Vegito."
As within each of his few Saiyan hands, two bright signature balls of energy then begin to form.
"Hey Vegito! Think fast! I don't want this battle to end too early!"
As Gogeta stands, arms wide open, ready to throw two concentrated balls of energy as if in a game of baseball. Instantly then thrown with power, three balls of energy that are thrown so intensely their very shape distorts mid-flight as they move. The balls then shoot off like rockets, chasing after the still flying back Vegito, like rabid dogs, until...
What the hell are those?
Ultra Vegito lifts his head in alarm and regains himself in the air finally. Before in the nick of time, flying right into the air, as the two beams of energy seemingly just miss him, flying off to explode elsewhere. You didn't think you'd get away that easy, did you? Here's a little trick from our old friend Yamcha. As Ultra Gogeta then suddenly raises two fingers into the air with a confident smile. What? Causing Vegito to react in utter shock as he soon realizes that the beams of energy he thought he had escaped like a matador had instantly changed course to reach up to him as if they were heat-seeking missiles. But with one more trick up his sleeve, Vegito then quickly brings up his left arm saying, "Since when did Yamcha's attacks become the bane of my life? Fine! If you want to feed me some of your precious energy, then be my guest!" As immediately, not one to bluff, Ultra Vegito holds out his android arm and begins absorbing each and every drop of Gogeta's attack, taking in both beams without breaking a sweat as he comments, "I normally use this arm to absorb God Ki, but plain old powerful energy like this will do too. I feel stronger already." But before Vegito could take any more pleasure in the absorption of his foe's energy, Ultra Gogeta skillfully finds himself right behind Vegito, smirking as he interrupts, "Glad you enjoyed a taste of real power. Enjoy it, because you're going to need all the help you can get around me." As shockingly, almost in a throwback to Android 16 from the Cell Saga, Ultra Gogeta bear hugs Vegito from behind, immobilizing him instantly as he says with a smile, "Hold on tight, Vegito. You're in for a ride." "What? Get off of me, you freak!" As Ultra Vegito in response yells out maniacally, squirming with all his might to try and escape. Now, the more you struggle, the tighter my grip gets. Now just stay still. This'll be over before you know it. As Gogeta then swiftly shoots off into the sky at full speed, covered in aura, until instantly, in a perfect 180 change of direction, now shooting down to the earth, he still holds on to Vegito, who is becoming increasingly disorientated. Maybe this will knock some sense back into you, God Killer. And just like that, a massive explosion of incomparable magnitude is then seen, shaking the very core of Beerus' planet, seemingly having been caused by the impact of both fused Saiyans launching into the ground like a couple of maniacs. But soon enough, it's revealed floating in the air mid-twirl is Ultra Gogeta, who it appears had jumped from Vegito just before impact, as he says, "Now that's gotta have hurt. I told you, you'd need all the help you could get with me." As softly and as elegantly as a ballerina, Gogeta then lands on his feet with his back turned to his victim, as he lets out of a cocky smirk, "Seeming a little quiet over there, Vegito. Isn't this the part when you kill me and take my energy? Or have I flipped the script?" As in the pile of debris and smoke that lays where Vegeta was decimated, just as Gogeta says, not a peep or sound vibration can be heard from the God Killer. Until eventually, once the dust settles, we're treated to the concerning image of Ultra Vegito's seemingly lifeless body sticking out of the ground, with his head firmly penetrated into the planet itself.
If only you could see yourself right now, Vegito.
You're closer to looking like me now that that ugly mug of yours is gone, that's for sure. I'm starting to think I may be a little too much for you in this form. Maybe I should go back down to Super Saiyan 4. Meanwhile, watching on with a big grin and a sense of pride, Beerus comments, "Not bad. Not bad at all, Saiyan. To tell you the truth, I thought you may have needed a couple more years to surpass this famed God Killer. But that doesn't seem to be the case. Looks like you didn't need my help after all." But unknowing to the Destroyer, back with Vegito, his body has already begun to move as he angles his back and moves his legs until he pops out straight onto the ground and flips back onto his feet. He pops straight out of the ground and flicks back onto his feet. Much better. Before then looking down to his shoulder nonchalantly and saying, "That attack of yours has stiffened up my neck. That's annoying. Guess I'll do a Piccolo and sort it out the old-fashioned way." Proceeding to then crack his neck and continuing, "Good as new." What? But Beerus, seeing this, is far from feeling his best, as his eyes pop wide open and he yells, "Why? Why does he not even look in the slightest bit fazed? That attack landed head on. That was one of Gogeta's strongest attacks, was it not? What's going on here, Whis?" Whis, however, remains far more calm, as usual, as he more assuringly says, "It seems our time meddler over here may be a lot stronger than we first assumed, my lord. But not to worry, Lord Beerus, because our Gogeta-san doesn't seem to care much anyway. In fact, he seems to be enjoying this." As having said this, almost on cue, Ultra Gogeta then jumps forward to approach Vegito, before landing adamantly straight on with the God Killer, as Vegito says, "Oh, you again? That was kind of nice. It's been so long since I'd last been hugged, you know. Wanna do it again?" Funny, Vegito, but unfortunately, I don't bend that way. How about I show you some other tricks instead? Starting with skipping this game of testing each other, and just battling full power starting now. You should know better than anyone. I don't exactly have all the time in the world. To which a clearly more serious Vegito then responds back, "Yeah, I figured as much. After all, the last time I used the fusion dance, I couldn't even finish my fight with Beerus. I didn't really think I'd have to go all out traveling back here, but looks like that's just the way it's gonna be." As instantly the two begin to simultaneously vanish as if in perfect sync with each other, with Gogeta's final words being, "Glad you see it my way," and Vegito's being, "Oh, rest assured, it will be you who sees more than you bargained for today." With immediately Gogeta's first attack being blocked with thunderous impact on Vegito's forearm, his face remaining emotionless as if not trying. But once Vegito responds with a punch of his own at full strength, the almost negligible gap in their power is observed, as Gogeta dodges at the last second, commenting, "Ha! Too slow, Vegito. I'll show you real speed!" Cocking back his own fist to slam onto Vegito. But in the end, the punch just lands flat on the palm of Ultra Vegito, who lets out,
All that training and you're still an amateur. Speed is nothing if it's so obviously telegraphed. A real attack should be unexpected!
As instantly, out of nowhere, Ultra Vegito extends his Godslayer blade, piercing Gogeta straight through his shoulder, sending him flying back as the blade continues to extend and cause even more pain and agony.
What a move! Why can't I do that?
As Gogeta continues to be pushed back a seemingly infinite amount. Until eventually, Gogeta stamps his feet into the ground and forcefully stops himself from moving back any further. But with the damage to his shoulder already done, with just one eye open and gritting his teeth as if it were an arrow he could remove, he lets out,
So, this is the Godslayer blade I've heard so much about. I've got to be one of the only destroyers to have felt this and not be dead, right? And I'm guessing I'm only going to just hurt myself trying to get this out.
Vegito, now for the first time in a while, smiles, knowing he's finally got the upper hand, and replies,
Well, yeah, I guess you'd be right about that. But the night is young. Make the wrong move, and you might just turn out to be another destroyer 6 foot in the ground. And as for grabbing my Godslayer blade, I wouldn't recommend it if you value your fingers.
But despite hearing this admission, Gogeta surprisingly looks upbeat, still smirking as he responds,
Oh, is that so? Well, if you're saying I can't get this out, then I'll just settle for you doing it for me.
leaving Vegito understandably perplexed as he questions,
And I'm going to be doing that because...
But as Vegito wonders, curiously, the fingers on Gogeta's outstretched right arm begin to move inwards, as if calling forth something.
What is that?
But suddenly, out the corner of Vegito's eye, rushing towards him, breaking the sound barrier as it travels at an unfathomable speed, is a lone energy ball. In fact, the third energy ball Ultra Vegito threw earlier in their fight that never chased after the God Killer until now. And it is then revealed for good reason Ultra Vegito tried his best to avoid them, as on impact an explosion of unparalleled magnitude is then seen. As just as Gogeta had said, the Godslayer Blade 2 breaks off in tandem. In the end, Ultra Gogeta is left smiling victorious, letting out,
That's why you let go, Vegito. Looks like Beerus was wrong. It's not me who needs to be more aware of my surroundings. It's you.
But suddenly, something begins to alarm Gogeta, his senses tingling as he knows things may not be as they seem.
Be aware of this, surrounding punk!
As unbelievably, Ultra Vegito appears from a time portal to strike Gogeta across the face without a second for the few Saiyan to react, with anger and vigor on his face from even being forced to use such an ability. And of course, the hardened punch sends Ultra Gogeta flying far off for a massive crash landing. Vegito, having got some semblance of revenge, then wipes his mouth of the apparent damage of Gogeta's last attack, grunting out,
"That was a good little move. Caught me off guard. I'll give you that. Forgive me if I take that for myself. Might be useful against that damn Grand Priest."
But of course, not beaten yet, Ultra Gogeta, still smiling as if enjoying the battle to its fullest regardless, responds,
"Be my guest. What's mine is yours after all. Literally. I'd say I'll take that weird portal move of yours, but that's not something we're supposed to be able to do, is it, Vegito?"
But as Gogeta stands, his mannerism finally changes, as if set and decided on his decision now, letting out,
"Well, that was fun, Vegito, but I think we both know I have to finish this now or I'll end up defusing. We're just about equal, I'd say, physically at least. Now all that's left is who's mentally stronger and who's got the most energy. How about we test the latter with a good old-fashioned energy beam struggle? And don't you dare try and absorb this one. Fight me like a Saiyan, not an android."
With that said, Gogeta then confidently ascends into the air. While meanwhile, a smirking Vegito looks up, watching him carefully as he responds,
"As you wish, but not sure how I'm going to avoid fighting you as an android. You know this arm of mine has given me infinite energy, don't you? This key beam struggle is pointless. This battle is already decided."
But regardless of this critical information from Vegito, Ultra Gogeta just mutters,
"Oh, I see. Well, we'll just see about that."
as a bright ball of energy begins to form between the palm of his hands, creating shadows on his face as it illuminates the entire surrounding area, until finally it increases in size. While angling his body, he begins yelling, Meanwhile, a slightly confused but still full of himself Vegito would watch on from below, replying,
"I like the self-belief, even if pointless. So be it. A good old-fashioned Kamehameha versus Kamehameha battle, huh? Guess I'll be Gohan in this roleplay then."
And with that, Ultra Vegito 2 then gets into stance and places his hands into the iconic position, then yelling out himself, But suddenly, something appears to go wrong. Something so wrong that it leaves Vegito absolutely and unusually speechless. As unbelievably, in a blink of an eye, Ultra Gogeta, without any kind of hand sign, instantly transitions down to crouch just below Vegito, his arms still cocked back in position, ready to do only one move we all know, and Vegito too knows it. In his final moments, as he stares down, a realization finally comes along with an onslaught of fear over what will happen next, as he yells out,
"No! No! Gogeta, don't!
But ultimately, in the end, the ruthless Ultra Gogeta, no different to his counterpart, leaves no time to talk, and just like that, blasts Ultra Vegito into what seemingly is oblivion. And if you made it to the end and want more, leave me a hashtag manga letter and watch it for free right now on mangaletter.com. Just use the links in the pinned comment and description, enter your name and email, and you will receive a special link to never before seen manga seconds later. Make sure to check your spam or junk folder if you can't see it, and use an active email, as emails which are not your main will automatically be removed.